Are we live? For those of you wondering why I do this at the beginning of every live stream, it's because I need to check. There's a bit of a delay, right? And YouTube takes a little bit of time to update and show me that I'm actually live. So I don't want to start rambling on to only find out that we've actually not gone live. So that's why you see these little seconds at the beginning. And now, yes, we're live. Awesome. Welcome back to another live stream, the David Ramms Livestream. This is number 5 weeks in a row we've been doing this, and yeah, I'm still pumped, still happy to be here, and I hope you are too. For those of you joining later, those of you that have not joined live, if you check the progress bar at the bottom, you'll have everything is like sectioned out, so you can just jump to whichever thing you're most interested in. And if you are watching live, welcome. We've got some good topics for today. If you have a topic or a question or a comment that you really want us to talk about, then please do use the super chat feature. The super chat feature, it allows you to contribute to the stream. So you're actually able to like contribute some money to the stream to support me, to support my work. And it will also make like a big deal of your comment. Like it will come up in a different color. I'll be able to see it immediately. And when you do use the super chat, I will put it up on the screen and we'll discuss whatever you've brought up immediately. We'll stop whatever we're talking about and we'll talk about what you want to talk about. That's what you get if you use a super chat. So give it a go. And we have some guests for today's topics. I'm going to bring them both in now. Here we go. I'm going to unmute you both. Sorry. There you go. We're in. We've got James and Ellie. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you.
All right, then. I'm glad that you've agreed to do this one with me today because, you know, it's a topic that I don't think many people would be so comfortable talking about to kick off with. So I appreciate us jumping in on this. How are things with you guys then? Or maybe you can introduce yourselves to people that maybe don't know you. Let's start with that. So who wants to go first?
Ladies first.
James. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I'm vegan. I'm vegan gaze, and I am sexy, so I can talk about this topic. So I'm very happy to talk about this topic today. And yeah, I don't know how to explain my channel to anyone who doesn't know me. I like memes, and that's about it. Wholesome James.
Thank you. Yeah. So my name's James. I've recently started a Facebook channel and a YouTube channel called Wholesome James. I'm going to focus on like animal rights, street activism and investigations, that sort of thing. So give me a follow if you're not already. I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Wholesome James coming onto a live stream to talk about sex.
I
Real
know,
wholesome, bro. Hey, do you know what's fucked up though, right? I posted that video and that video was like not that bad, right? And I don't talk about the word. There was no words that came up that would be necessarily like overly sexual or like offensive, but YouTube demonetized it. And then when I appealed the demonetization, they just said, no, we've checked it, and just still demonetized. What was in that video that I just made about sex, you know, like about the Game Changers study and all this other, what was in that video that could possibly be so offensive that it got me demonetized? Seriously.
I was laughing at that video because you even used like words that like schoolboys would use, like boner and things like
that. If anyone doesn't know what I'm referring to, it's the last video I just posted, the 5-Minute Friday. It's on my channel, and I just talked about the topic we're going to talk about today in more detail. But I talked about it just in a little 4-minute section. I talked about boners, and basically that's pretty much all. That's it, boner. I didn't even say like the scientific word for a boner. I didn't say anything about I don't even want to say it now because they'll demonetize this as well. But it wasn't that bad, right? That's my point. It wasn't that bad. So I don't know if this is I don't know. Are we going into a topic that we shouldn't go into? Are we not allowed to talk about sex and veganism and relationships and the plant-based diet and what it can do to men's private parts? Are we not? Is this not okay? I don't know.
I like to imagine the person who reviewed your video is just like super innocent.
They are actually Wholesome James. There's a guy in the back called
exactly.
Wholesome James. No, I'm sorry, I can't see this.
But
no,
it's either that or there's someone who is actually suffering from like ED because of the horrible diet, and then they just got offended. Maybe that could be it. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know. right? It's really common. So maybe they just took personal offense to the content and like, nah, we've got to keep this demonetized. Got to screw these guys. Very, very strange. But we are here for a discussion on a specific topic, and it is related to a survey. So you guys ready to jump into this and get into this survey?
Yeah.
And like give your opinions on this. All right. So we're talking about a survey. I'm gonna share the screen now. We're talking about sex. We're talking about relationships. We're talking about both of these things as vegans, or some of it's going to be related to the plant-based diet. But yeah, we're going to get into this. And this all came up from this this survey, this article that I found, which is using this horrible photo of Pamela Anderson, which is like, if you're going to use a photo of Pamela Anderson, think about all the different photos you could choose. Think about how many things this woman has appeared in, and you choose that one. I really don't get that. But anyway, the point is they've done a survey on this website, right, where they asked 500 vegans and 500 meat eaters about like things about their sex lives, and they found that 84% of vegans were satisfied, 59% of meat eaters were satisfied. So that's like a huge difference. They found out some other stuff, like saying 92% of vegans say their love lives are great, and 58% are always having energy for sex. But with meat eaters, that was only 79% and 35%. And 35% of meat eaters call themselves givers. 58% of vegans would call themselves givers. So basically, it's just all good stuff, right? It's just all good stuff. It's just like, seems like vegans have more energy. They're doing it twice as much, I think it said as well. It was somewhere in there that the vegans said they were having sex like 4 times a week. The meat eaters were saying they were doing it 2 times a week. So that was only out of like 1,000 participants overall. But have either of you seen like a difference since like pre and post vegan in this? Like, is this kind of thing like you're like, yeah, of course? Or are you kind of I don't know, not sure about this survey? Does it match up? I'm just kind of curious to get some of your thoughts. I've given mine already, you know.
Not
Go
really.
on, James.
I've not really noticed much difference in terms of like my own personal enjoyment of sex. I wouldn't say I've noticed a significant difference since changing to veganism like 4 years ago. The one thing I would say, and I think many people would probably agree with this, is that I would say I'm probably less selfish. Like, I think more about other people than I used to. Maybe I was more selfish in the past, and that's not really who I am anymore. So at least I try not to be. But in terms of like my own personal enjoyment, or, you know, my sexual performance or prowess, like, no, I've not really noticed a difference.
I love that word, man.
I mean, that's what people think of, though, right? When they think of like manly men who eat meat, they think of like sexual prowess and virility and like things like that. But like, I mean, that's the stereotypes, right?
Yeah, sure.
Vegan gays?
What do we say? What do we say, Ellie?
Yeah, for me, I'm always skeptical of surveys, because then I just think of the flip side. I'm just thinking of the Daily Mail right now doing a survey about how like people felt after like apparently being vegan, and it just so surveys scare me a little bit. But for me, yeah, I've seen a difference in a few things that people pick up on. But I don't know if that's because I'm aging, because of the relationships I've been in, like the insatiable appetite. I can relate. I understand it, and I don't know if that's to do with the fact that as I'm getting older, I am eating healthier, and you know, because I have been in 6 years, and I did notice a difference, but I don't know if that's because of when I changed. I became vegan when I was 18, you know, so that's quite a primitive time for a human being. So yeah, I did notice different, and there are some other comments people make about things like a difference in taste because of the acidity in your body and stuff like that. And I can definitely say there's things like that I've seen a difference in, but I don't know. I'm not sure. I'd love to see, you know, things that aren't surveys about it, because a lot of people comment on it, but I don't know if that's just to make us sound better. or if it's actually the case. What about you?
I mean, yeah, I don't think it really changed for me either. I mean, the difference. I'm a little bit different in this because it's like I was born being taught compassion for animals and compassion for others. Well, no, specifically non-humans. My mum raised me hating humans, but she raised me with a lot of love for animals and empathy, right? So it's not like I all of a sudden went vegan and got empathetic. It's kind of like how I was raised. So for my non-vegan to vegan, which was when I was like 19. When I was vegetarian before that, that's what I used to think, and my mum used to think. We both used to think vegetarianism was the best. That's what you can do. And then when we kind of realized that, she realized before me, and then I became vegan. So it really wasn't like that big transition that most people talk about, like how how you guys you guys talk about it, or like other people talk about it, and it's brilliant, it's amazing, and I love hearing your stories. I don't really have that story because for me it was just kind of like okay, I'm going to take that step now. I've been preaching this for 19 years, and then now I need to actually go ahead and go further. So I didn't see a big difference at all, to be honest with you. I think the biggest difference that I've seen in terms of not necessarily only with like sex, but physical performance in general has been, like you said, eating healthier. And that's eating when I was eating oil-free, plant-based, non-processed, like I had it 5 days a week and I had 2 days a week cheating. That is by far the most active and energetic I've ever been in my life. I was like, I felt like I'd go running, right? I'd do like a 10-15 kilometer run. And then I at times I would stay out because I was living in Spain, right? So I could just go out, I didn't need to like go home and put something warm on. I could just go and hang out in shorts and t-shirt, right? And people wouldn't be able to believe, like, what, you've just done 15 kilometers. How are you not smelling? Like, you must stink. Like, how do you not smell of anything? And I don't know. I guess it's what I'm eating. It was crazy. Like, the sweat didn't smell. Like, I didn't sweat that much. When I did, it was gone. It felt like it just disappeared really quickly. It was like, it felt, I don't know, there's no science here. It just felt very like thin and very easy to get rid of and didn't smell of anything. And that was when I was eating healthy. So I definitely I know there's a link between eating healthy and athletic performance. Obviously, we all know that. And the whole food plant-based diet would come into that. So it doesn't surprise me that some people are seeing massive benefits by eating a plant-based diet in the bedroom as well, because it's basically a workout, right? I mean, let's be honest. So like physical performance it's clear that would be a difference. But in terms of like what you said, James, about being less selfish, I don't see it. I mean, some people weren't so happy with this. I posted this survey on Facebook, and some people were like getting pissy about it, like, oh, this is not what veganism's about, blah blah blah. But it's like, if you are an empathetic person, then it's not a surprise that you would be more of a giver or more better in the bedroom and also be vegan, would it? Wouldn't be a surprise. That's what empathy is all about. Thinking about others and changing your lifestyle and habits to have a, not just pleasure others, not just help others, but also to have symbiosis, right? We want to live with the animals and not cause them problems and do things that are good for them. We want to live with other humans, ideally, and not cause them problems and do things that are good for them, as long as they're not pieces of shit, But
like you say, that's not surprising at all, though, right? If you're the sort of person that shows empathy and compassion to animals so much that you would do what many people, and I don't see it like this anymore, but many people would see it as a sacrifice to give up eating animal products, right? Oh, I guess I can't eat bacon anymore. That's what people say, right? So for you to kind of put the needs of animals before what you see as the needs of yourself, I would say you're more likely to be the sort of person that would then also in the bedroom think, well, hang on, there's two people here, so I need to make sure the other person enjoys it as well. Well, maybe more than two people, but I need to make sure the person I'm with are enjoying it as much as I do. You're more likely to, expand that empathy to how are the other parties feeling.
The other parties, yeah, could be, like you said, could be multiple. Yeah, we're in a brave new world. We're in 2020.
Yeah. And I've got plenty of my own like anecdotal evidence in terms of I would agree with some of the things that Vegan Gaze said in terms of I think that vegan people tend to smell better and taste better, and well, it links up with what you were just saying about your sweat or body odor. Like, I don't know, it's only anecdotal evidence. This carries no weight. It's not scientific, but I think from my experience that vegan people smell and taste better.
I think this is some science behind it to do with the acidity of the bodily fluid. So like quite acidic foods can affect that. And then eating sweeter foods, that's why everyone says, oh, eat pineapple and stuff like that, or strawberries before you see like guzzling it. So there is some, I just haven't like extensively looked into it. So yeah, there's things I think as well that things like, so eating, you know, meat and doing things like smoking, for example, that can like make people taste more bitter. But I'd have to like look into it properly. But I think there's some science behind it at least.
Well, let's talk about what science we know there is, because we all, whether you've seen Game Changers or you've done anything, you've done any kind of research, we all probably know that vegans tend to have better like blood circulation, blood flow due to the high cholesterol content of animal products. In the Game Changers, they talk about the endothelial function in your blood, which causes a reduction in your blood flow if you eat even a little bit of animal products. So, I mean, whilst there's not been any like randomized control trials or any huge scale meta-analyses of vegans' sexual performance, it seems like not too far of a leap to know that you're more likely to have better erections as men in the bedroom.
Bonus. We can't say the erection word on YouTube, apparently. We're not allowed to say that. Well, I don't know, actually. They demonetized my video for boner, so maybe if we do use the word erection, maybe that's better.
I feel like the scientific term would probably be better in the eyes of YouTube.
Erections then. But there was a study, actually. I know the Game Changers one wasn't a good study. Well, it wasn't a study, but there was a study that they did, and I'll maybe I can find it if somebody wants it, but I read it the other day, and they did a study on men suffering from erectile dysfunction, and they put them on these special diets and exercise regimes where they didn't stop consuming animal products, but they significantly reduced the food in their diets that would cause a buildup of cholesterol, like too much cholesterol, and they got them exercising, and then they used the control group and obviously the study group, and the study group had like significantly good results with this. So there is some hard science out there that like reducing dietary cholesterol will can massively help people who have erectile dysfunction. So yeah, again, it really isn't a surprise that, I mean, yeah, it's not a surprise that in the Game Changers, that's not surprising that what happened, they limited their intake of cholesterol for one meal, and then it caused like the increase it caused could be down to so many different things, like the increase of the duration and the increase of, but it would have, if the increase was smaller, it would have made it more believable, if that makes sense. I feel like the documentary, they should have just lied about it and just been like, oh, look, you had a 15% increase. And then we'd have been like, oh, that makes sense, that would have made it way more believable. But they're like, no, you had a 300% increase in the strength of your bone at your erection. Look at that thing. It was like, they went really into it. And it's kind of like, what? And these guys were like, what the fuck? Like, that's insane. And it seemed insane, didn't it? It seemed insane.
Right, that experiment didn't carry any scientific rigor. It was
no.
One-off. You would need a randomized control trial or some kind of double-blind studies in order to be able to claim that that's, statistically significant.
Of course, yeah. Of course.
I think it's quite difficult in the case of women as well, especially when you put two together, because there's no real, I don't really have much experience with blokes, so I don't know, so pardon me if I'm wrong, but there's no real end point with some women, like it just doesn't end. So actually, if it is the case that being vegan makes it last longer, and maybe it does, then actually that might be a nightmare, and I might have to give up veganism because I don't have time. I don't have time for this. I can't, like, you know, if it's insatiable and you can't actually see an end, and like, because I think women are a bit different a lot of the time, where like you've done the do, the button's been pushed, but it's not over. You're like, so maybe I've got to give up veganism, actually.
You know what, actually, this is something I've never really got into, but I am curious to know, whilst we're on the topic, Ellie, when do you know when it's over? Like, when you just like, are you just like exhausted? And it's like, you know what, I can't do anything.
No, you're just like, well, yeah, I felt that, but then I could feel that again. So like, so actually, yeah, I suppose when it becomes 6 a.m, and then you're like, oh well, we do have work in 2 hours, so I guess you got to sleep. So yeah, it's just a nightmare, actually. So you know what, you convinced me to give up veganism.
Sounds like an absolute fucking nightmare, doesn't it?
Horrible time. Horrible.
Just fucking just having the whole night and just totally chilling out and just doing that all night.
It's a noble deed to deal with this. Yeah, it's very noble. So
should we just get everyone in chat and all of us to have a moment of silence for vegan gays who has to
just a moment of silence. Horrible.
The smallest violin in the world. Jesus, you're still just put this into consideration. You're sat here telling 2 guys that as a woman with another woman, it's a nightmare because you just can continue forever.
You just don't know. You're just like, oh, I don't know, mate. Should we stop now? All right, buddy.
I mean, James are just like, yeah, sounds like the fucking worst thing I've ever heard.
You just stop where you're like, I think if I did it again, I'd die. And then you're like, all right, sleep time then.
Maybe that is down to your plant-based diet. Maybe if you were not eating a plant-based diet, you'd get more tired sooner, or you'd stink. You'd be like, I can't do this anymore.
It is a recent thing. I don't know if it's just like comfort with a partner or something like that. Like, because I personally, I'm not a very promiscuous person. Like, I tried to be, and it just didn't feel very comfortable. So I don't know if it's down to finding a partner you're comfortable with, or because I was eating healthier, then suddenly that became a thing. But you know, I hope I will continue to eat healthier, and then when the opportunity comes up again, I'll test it for science. David, for science, I shall test it and see if it's actually the case.
Awesome, sounds great. We'll look forward to that rigorous study. you know what's funny? What you were talking about, what we've talked about already, that the smelling of people's sweat and things like that. It's so funny because the common narrative about vegans, right, is the complete opposite, isn't it? Like smelly vegans, stinky, smelly hippie vegans that don't wash, right? So that's so funny. That's it's like couldn't be more the opposite. But what does that even come from, though? Because I mean, let's be clear for a second, right? I have met smelly vegans. Like, it's not like they don't exist, right? And I'm sorry I'm not sorry. You don't, whoever it is, you don't know who I'm talking about, but I'm thinking about you. And I've met smelly vegans, all right. And I'm sure I have also been a smelly vegan at some point as well. I mean, it's not, you know, when you eat unhealthily as a vegan, you'll smell. So. But then I guess I guess what we're trying to get to the bottom of here is like that smell compared to somebody who's eating, you know, animal flesh and secretions. It's going to be like much worse. You would have to. Well, there's not been a study on this, but I think we're assuming that it's much worse. That's a study I want to do. I want to do like a blindfold some people and just put some smelly people in front of them. Just be like, which ones? Rate 1 to 10 on how bad this person smells, and then like do some kind of like, you know, some kind of study. That would be interesting. But I don't think anyone would fund something like that. I mean, what's the practical uses of the results of a study like that, really? It'd have to be some kind of TV study.
What would interest me is kind of a bit of a snapshot study of either us or people in the chat or just the kind of wider vegan community on would people romantically be with a non-vegan?
Well, you want to get into that right now? We've been through this. We've been through this on this channel actually quite recently, and most people said no. There were a few people that already were, including like Grumpy Vegan Granddad, I believe, I don't believe, I know. he went vegan, whilst, you know, he's got a family, you know, wife and kids and stuff. So there are a few people who are in the chat now who I know of non-vegan partners, but then loads of people were saying no, they wouldn't. Well, have you answered? I don't think I've asked you though, James. Would you have a non-vegan partner now?
It's difficult because in the long term, I really struggle to believe that somebody would be compatible with me in the long term if they weren't compassionate enough to go vegan anyway. So I don't know, maybe I'd go on a few dates with somebody that wasn't, kind of try to talk to them about it. If it was just obvious that wasn't going anywhere, then I think we wouldn't be going anywhere either. But, you know, maybe that sounds kind of cutthroat, but
no, it's totally cool. You know, so considering we're here to talk about sex as well as relationships, so you wouldn't date someone who's non-vegan, but would you have sex with somebody who's non-vegan?
I can't help but think that someone would like taste pretty gross if they actually ate animal products.
I can't help but think that you're chatting shit, and you totally would.
Is that because you know me personally and you think I'm not so wholesome? Maybe I'm actually a creep.
That's because I think you're chatting shit. That's because I think if you were in a bar and you were drunk and there was a nice girl and you've been talking and then you found out she wasn't vegan, I don't think that would change you one iota. I think you would still be like, okay, this is all totally fine. And I'm being like in a real world example I'm talking about here, because I know we're talking about ideal world examples here. Right? Ideally, none of us are going to want to do that, and obviously for me, I'm out of this conversation really because I'm in a long-term relationship, and I think Ellie, you are as well, right?
No, I'm not.
Okay, cool. No worries. No. So it's just you guys then talking about this. Yeah. So let me put this to you then. Let me put you both on the spot then, right? So either of you is in a bar and you're talking to someone and you like them, they like you. And it's like one of those kind of like funny situations. You've been in these situations in a bar where like you kind of having banter with somebody, and it's clear that like, you know, this could go somewhere. And then but you know they're not vegan, and then they're like, hey, look, like let's go home. I want to go home with you, or I want you to come home with me, or whatever. Are you gonna turn them down because they're non-vegan if everything else is okay in that moment?
I mean, that scenario probably doesn't really apply to me that much because, if I'm honest, I'm not really a one-night stand kind of person. I mean, I've tried it before and I just didn't feel good. It wasn't a pleasant experience. Yeah, so maybe if the scenario was instead, if I'd been on a few dates with someone and then, you know, it became an option, would I? Honestly, I don't know. It really just depends on the situation, the person, whether I believe that person was a good, compassionate person who just not made that step yet. Maybe not done the research, or I don't know. It's hard to say.
I'm the same. Like I'm not promiscuous. I did try to be, and it just doesn't work out for me. So it's easier for me to say absolutely no because I have been in those situations. I remember this woman, and we ended up just talking about veganism instead. And she was drunk, and she was like, "Oh, I probably should." And she was like half speaking French, half English because she was that drunk. And so, like, no, I don't think it's possible for me to shut up about it long enough. No, even if a few dates, I just. There's too much about me that they would have to just kind of like not pay attention to, not be interested in, to the point where I'm not even sure if they're attached to me in any way. So no, it just is off-putting, and I'm easily like off-put. So in that sense, if I'm just put off, then I just can't. So no, I wouldn't be able to. I don't think it's easy to say.
Yeah, you reminded me of a story. You reminded me of the story of this funny story my friend told me about his friend in Wigan, of all places. Apparently, he was on a night out, and they were on the night out, and he was tired, so he just decided, like, I'm going to go home and watch Blue Planet. You know, the documentary Blue Planet.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I'm going to go home, right? And apparently, just before he was going to leave, he got talking to a girl, and she was like really into him, and he was into her. And he's like, anyway, I'm going to go home now. I'm tired. I've decided I'm going home. I'm going to watch Blue Planet. And she was like, what's that? And apparently she wanted to go with him. And she was expecting like, you know, like, oh, yeah, okay, I'll come with you. And like, you know, it seemed like they were going to get it on, but no, they actually went home and watched Blue Planet. Like literally some random girl in a bar. So this kind of reminds me of what you're talking about. Now it's like, yeah, well, you can come home with me, but I'm gonna watch Dominion or Earthlings.
That's me.
And then
me.
and then they're like, yeah, okay, cool, this sounds fun. And then like 2 hours later, they're sat there destroyed, like, oh shit, I want to go vegan. That would be that would be pretty good like form of outreach, really, wouldn't it? I guess.
I accidentally outreach all the time. I don't even mean to, and then it comes up, and I'm like, oop. Well, while we're here.
Yeah.
I've actually got someone on my friends list on Facebook. I can't remember her name, but she basically did a similar thing where she was like chatting to guys on Tinder or, I don't know, Plenty of Fish, those kind of dating apps, and saying, oh, what you're up to. I'm just watching this documentary, The Game Changers. It's really cool. You should watch it and tell me what you think. And she's like really hot. So like guys were probably quite interested, and yeah, she just had screenshot after screenshot after screenshot of guys saying, oh, I've just watched it. Oh my God, like I need to do something about this. I don't know. Is there a word for that? Like sextivism or something? I don't know.
Sextivism. It's kind of like these guys are kind of like, do you know what a simp is?
Yeah.
SIMP. They're kind of like yeah, they're kind of like vegan simping, aren't they? They're like, I watched it. Oh my God, it's the worst thing ever. How do I go vegan? And can I meet you?
And can you show me?
Yeah, come meet up with me and show me how to go vegan, please. I really need specifically your help here on this.
You do simping. Find people change quite quickly. Like one of my girlfriends who I was with for a while, when I met her, she met me through my videos. So I was like, oh, are you vegan? And she went, yeah, I am now, because she was vegetarian. And then that minute we spoke, she became vegan, and she's still vegan to this day. So it was like accidental outreach. Just I didn't even do anything. I was just like, are you vegan? She's like, suddenly, yes. But oh yeah, just and then yeah, because I think she knew that I wouldn't really be as interested if she was just vegetarian. So definitely. Yeah,
I think this it is definitely a good tactic, you know, and especially if you're, as James was saying, like with if it's someone on Tinder that like, you know, knows how to use Tinder, and like, I don't know, it's not even about, like you said, she was hot, James. It's not even about whether you're hot or not. It's about the specific photos you choose for Tinder that people will be more likely to swipe, you know, yes on, right? But I think we discussed this before, though, in that it's much easier for I think to get straight men to do what you want them to do if you're obviously if you're a straight woman, because straight men, we said this last time, maybe the time before, straight men are like way more desperate, like basically like way more thirsty. So I think straight women have it the easiest in terms of like reaching out to men. You know, I think that's like if anyone's watching now and you're a girl and you're into guys, like you should really consider doing this kind of outreach, because I promise you, straight men are like so fucking thirsty. They'll do absolutely anything just to talk to you, just so you respond, right? So you'd be like, yeah, I'll talk to you, but go and watch Earthlings first and then tell me what you think. They'll fucking do it. They'll do it on that moment. If it means that you'll like respond, or it means that you'll like show some interest in them, they'll do it. Like it's such a good tactic. You're laughing, James, but you know it's true. You fucking know it's true, man.
I feel like it's the same for lesbians, actually, because there's less out there. So do you know what I mean? So there's more kind of like when one comes along, there is that meme that when people become lesbians, that everyone's had sex with each other. Like, and it's true. Like when I think when in my friend group when I was younger and I'd come out, and then like all my friends were around, they'd all slept with each other, all of the lesbians, and it became the kind of meme of like, oh, who's going to sleep with Ellie first? Luckily, none of them did. But yeah, so they are like a desperate group. So if there's any lesbians in the chat, just use your VV power to for the animals, definitely.
Nice. I love how you said when one comes along, it's like some kind of rare Pokemon.
They are a rare Pokemon. It's like you have to use a very, very good Pokeball on them. Like I'm talking at least an Ultra Ball. Yeah, like maybe a Master Ball, yeah.
So
Yeah.
in lesbian dating, you've got to catch them all. Is that what you're saying?
Got to catch them. Well, that's what I do it wrong. I don't catch them all. I'm like, run away. But yeah, there you do see that in the lesbian scene, that they will simp really hard, sometimes harder than a straight man. So
you know what, like you're totally right about this, because when I was living in Manchester, I used to live with the girl. What? Manchester's terrible.
Manchester's as in like for the gay scene.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh, it's insane.
Yeah.
It is insane. So I used to live with a girl, and she's a lesbian. Well, actually, I don't know anymore. I think she's bi. Sorry. But at that point, she was like, totally not into men. And I lived with her for like a year, or maybe a year and a half, just over a year. And fucking hell, that was like baptism of fire for me. Like just learning about this community and like LGBT community, and like I met so many different incredible people. I had a really cool experience, like learning about I learned about what trans was from meeting her trans friend, just being like, hey, can I ask you some questions? And like they were like, yeah, go ahead. And I was like, okay, what explain to me, like, the situation, like what's your situation, like who are you, what are you about? And it was really cool. But the most like I learned was when going out with like with lesbian and gay. I went out at one point with her and some of her lesbian friends, some of her gay friends, and trans friend, and then his trans friends, and like it's insane. It's an insane world. And what you're saying about the desperation thing with the lesbian community, yeah, I saw it with her, and it was crazy. Like other women would just go fucking crazy over her, like insane. Like, every now and then she showed me the kind of texts and the kind of things people were saying, and it was like, fuck, these people are really like really into you, right? Really crazy into you. And yeah, you're right, I just totally forgot about all that.
And I'm quite a traditional person at the same time as being a lesbian, so it's quite a lonely world, because like I think I come across as well, so like in those scenes, I don't even like those scenes and don't go to them, but I think if I was put in that scene, I think I come across as someone who should approach and simp, and I can't. So it's I'm basically like I'm desperate in a different way. So
you're like a desperate introvert.
Yeah. I'm like, someone love me, but don't, just go away, actually. But please come here.
But I've seen a similar thing in the local gay community with gay men, where I used to be friends with a guy who, with gay men, you get kind of some that are like really outwardly camp or effeminate, and then you get the ones that are like traditional, like manly men, or I don't know the appropriate kind of terminology to use, to be honest. But yeah, the guy that I was friends with, like, he looked like Clark Kent. Dude was insanely good looking. Like, I would sim for him, to be honest, but I'm not that way inclined, unfortunately. And I don't know if maybe there just wasn't many of that kind of manly man kind of gay men in my like local scene. But when I went out for drinks with him, like, he was swatting away people like flies. He would basically walk into a club and like, you'll do, and just like choosing someone. And I have thought before, like, how good would it be if that guy was vegan? He could probably convert the entire like club in one night. Yeah. We just had a really interesting comment in the chat from someone called Gabriel, who said that she's invented a new word. She says, I'm David Ramms sexual, which I would assume means that you're only attracted to David Ramms.
That is, I was wondering what my sexuality was. It's not lesbianism, it's David Ramms sexual. Yes. It all makes sense.
Jesus.
The surname gives it some real aggression as well, so I love that.
Yeah. Do you know when I first came up with this? Because this is gonna like blow people's worlds right now. My real name is not David Ramms.
Oh my god.
No, my real name's David Ramsden, actually. So, but I didn't. It doesn't roll, does it? It doesn't like. Oh yeah, who's this new YouTuber, David Ramsden? It's like, what's this? No, it doesn't work. Like David Ramms, it's like fast. It's like, But when I first told some friends about it, they were like, it sounds like you're really aggressive. And I was like, but I am. So that works out perfectly. It sounds like you're going to ram some opinions down people's throats. Yes, that's exactly what I'm going to do. This is brilliant. This is like the perfect name. And it was actually Annie who came up with it.
Was it?
Yeah, she came up with it.
Next thing you're going to tell me is that Wholesome's last name isn't James. Like, what on earth?
No, it's not. I often wonder why my parents decided to call me Wholesome. It's just weird, right?
That's a lot of pressure for a kid. Peace. It's like you're gonna be like the nicest fucking person.
Peace is in a fight again. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. There was another funny question, by the way, I saw, and it was for you two actually. Let's give this from Marley. Says question for vegan gays and wholesome James. Would you date someone who was asexual? That is a good question.
I thought I thought for a while I was actually, because I just couldn't really like connect with people. But I think since actually doing so, that it would likely be a bit of a problem, because now I know that, oh, I'm not, and actually no, I do want that in a relationship, and I'm happy with that, and I want to explore that more. Then now I think the answer is probably no, because I wouldn't want to have it like later down the line where we're both wanting something different of the other person. So it'd probably be no at this point.
Sure.
I'm not really sure, to be honest. I really don't know. Like, and I don't want to go into it too much, because I've been in a situation where I've kind of had to think about that before, and I'm not really comfortable about it. But I mean, it feels like quite an important thing for me. But who knows? Maybe for the right person, like, I would kind of sacrifice that thing that I think is really important. But I don't know, to be honest.
Fair enough.
It's a tough one, right?
Yeah. I mean, it would be kind of strange for me to answer this question, because I mean, if in a hypothetical world I was single, I guess no. I don't think it would work. Just to be completely straight with you, I don't see the point in beating around the bush. I'm very direct with these kinds of things. If I don't, whether it be like a friendship or a work arrangement or like a new project, like if I don't think something's going to work, I'll just be like, nah, this doesn't match up, sorry. So I think this is a situation where I would just be super direct and have to say nope. I think just take a little pause. There's somebody who's very upset in the comments, and okay. Here's I'll leave it up to the vote for you two. We've got someone in the comments getting very upset at me. Do you want me to put the comments on screen and respond, or do you want me to block them? Which would you rather have? I'll put it up for a vote between James and Vegan Gays.
What I say is, when people are being naughty and acting like children in the comment section, you put them in the naughty corner and time them out for 5 minutes. And then they come back and apologize, and then everything's fine. So I'd put them in the naughty corner first.
All right,
Give them a chance.
All right, then. That's cool. We'll do that then. I'll put them in timeout. There you go.
If they're gonna be naughty, act like children, just super nanny it.
Yeah. All right then. I wanted to get your opinion, because I'm more than happy to pull up the comments and fucking destroy them. But that's not what we're here for. It's not what we're here for. And I'm controlling myself. Like I'll take your advice, Ellie, and we'll.
I'm being a mother here. My maternal instinct is booting in. Yeah. Just naughty. So yeah.
It was just
quite a lot of negative energy there, and just
it's messing with my chakras.
Throw all that negative energy out, and I mean, if you don't like it,
I think there are exactly. I think they're a triggered Sadhguru fan. I don't know if you must see my sad videos about Sadhguru where I'm ripping into that fucking moron, and people really don't like it, because it's like they see him as like as Jesus, and then like the Hindu Jesus. It's like he is Jesus to Hinduism as Jesus is to Christianity, if that makes sense. So they're kind of like, when I call him a moron or when I say something about his bullshit, it's as if they see it as like I'm insulting a god. So some people get very, very upset about it, like very upset. And it's like, this dude is just a fucking human, a very persuasive human. and I will keep ripping into him as long as he keeps saying dumb shit about the animals. So maybe that's we could just leave all of those comments at that. That's most likely what this person's upset about. Oh, and also, if you've been enjoying those Sadhguru videos, guess what? I've got 2 more on the way. 2 more videos about Sadhguru. One's already filmed. The other one's going to be filmed soon. And I'm going to keep it up.
I want to join in. I kind of want to join in. Get people mad at me.
Look, this guy, I mean, we can talk about this for a second, but this I'm not doing it just for like fun. I'm doing it because he says he's supposed to be this enlightened, fucking wholesome, right? Wholesome guy who is spiritual, compassionate, all that good stuff. And yeah, I'll be honest with you, for a good chunk of his work, he is that person. But then when it comes to the non-human animals, he's like a fucking monster. And like when it comes to people who disagree with him, he is a horrible person. Like he mocks them, he ridicules them, especially when there's questions about the animals. So as long as look, if he released a video today and was like, listen, I've been a bit of a dick and I'm not perfect, and actually what I said about the animals isn't good, and now I see that, I'll stop making videos about him. But as long as those videos are up and they're getting millions and millions of views, I'm going to keep making my own videos to hope to catch a few people from those videos of his who see that actually know what he's saying is bullshit. The next one is comparing him to Thich Nhat Hanh. You know who that is? Thich Nhat Hanh. This is a Buddhist Vietnamese monk, and this guy is a vegan, and he has given a talk about veganism. Well, very like not like a big talk, but he was asked about why vegan, and he answered really, really well, compassionately, talking about peace, talking about not wanting to harm animals, and that's why he's a vegan. And I'm going to make the next video I'm making is comparing them. It's going to be like Sadhguru versus this guy. Who do you think's more peaceful? That's the video I'm making. It's going to cause so much shit. But like, I hope it makes these people fucking realize that, like, look, this is another guru, and this guru is actually peaceful. Your guru is giving this bullshit information publicly and encouraging people to continue abusing animals. Like, you've got to see this, you know?
The thing I like about those videos is that the whole like power dynamic's wrong. It doesn't feel good watching it when there's like this guy at the front of the room, all eyes on him, and he's framing himself as a spiritual leader and a guru. And when someone comes to him with a question which goes against his beliefs, rather than sit there and say, okay, let's talk about that, let's think logically, he instead kind of, have you noticed he always like laughs at them at the beginning to like prime everyone for like, you're saying something silly, you just said something funny, and now I'm going to deconstruct it and tell you why with some like quirky little funny commentary on it. The whole power dynamic's wrong, man. Don't like it.
Yeah, and I've noticed he does this thing, right? He does this thing in a lot of his videos. When somebody says something, right, yeah, what you've just said happens, right? So they'll say something, and then mid-question, he'll be like, get to the point. All right, and then they'll be like, I'm trying to get to the point, and then like you just said, the power dynamic's off, right? He's abusing his power to put pressure on them, and then he'll go get to the point, like, I've not got all day for your question. I've heard him say this to people before, and then when they finally finish the question, the first words out of his mouth, 9 times out of 10, he says, let's understand this, right? Which seems like, oh yeah, this is really good, but realistically, that is one of the most like patronizing things you can say to someone. Let's understand this. It's like as if they're wrong, and I'm about to explain why they're wrong. Basically, is what that means, right? Whereas, like you just said, he just kind of refuses to even accept for a second that this person could be right and that he's full of shit. And yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
The condescension's just unreal, and that's why I'd never put myself as a spiritual guru, because I am not above that. If you're a spiritual guru, you should be above the condescension and the, you know, like that's more something from, you know, someone like us, you know, the inferior people who are like, you're so wrong, and I'm about to tell you why. That's not what you'd expect from a spiritual leader, not at all. So it's just ridiculous.
You know, the comments, one of the main comments I get on my Sadhguru videos, right, from butthurt Sadhguru fans, and one of the main comments I get from them is, you're saying these horrible things about Sadhguru, about how he's not compassionate and about how he is, you know, excuse me, being rude. and then you're being rude and you're not being compassionate either. And I'm like, yeah, but I never claimed to be either of those things. Like, I never told you that I was like an enlightened guru, some like spiritual leader. I'm actually, my name is, I chose the fucking name for my YouTube because the surname sounded aggressive. All right, like, we're not the same, me and Sadhguru, right? It's not, we're talking about apples and oranges here. So if I'm being a dick, that's what I'm doing. Like, that's why people subscribe to me, because I'm a dick. They don't subscribe to Sadhguru because he's a dick, or they shouldn't be. They subscribe to him because he's supposed to be some kind of spiritual leader, teaching them about compassion and I don't know, peace. Like, I'm talking about veganism, which definitely includes a big element of compassion, but it's not necessary for you to be a compassionate person to be a vegan. You can be a total asshole and still respect animals enough to not torture them, right? So it's just, like I said, apples and oranges. But you're right, totally right, Ellie. Like, you don't expect that coming from someone like him. That's the point.
Yeah, if
but
I was
for us, you expect it.
Sorry, if I was going to choose to follow some spiritual guru, I wouldn't want them to be elevated above everyone else in that position of power, like preaching to people. I would see that role as a role of service, really. Like, I'm here to serve your needs as a community. I'm not above you. I'm not better than anyone else. I've just spent a lot of time thinking about this, and I want to share with you what I know. They've
got to be Bob Ross level piece for me too. Like that for someone to be like a spiritual guru, I mean, to respect them in that way. Bob Ross level advocacy, I'm telling you.
Yeah. I think most of them are full of shit, but yeah, you do meet people every now and then that are a bit more like real, I suppose. Not like phonies, but I don't know, even then, like, I think the main issue with someone like Sadhguru, I think the number one issue is that he's put, whether he chose this or not, it doesn't matter, he is seen as, and kind of, I feel like he does also position himself as a what they call a god man, which this is a very it probably used to be more common in all of the world, but now it seems to be more prevalent in Asia. They have god men, people who kind of proclaim themselves as enlightened and kind of put themselves on a pedestal to be seen as gods. We definitely see them in the West, but they don't get as much of the population behind them. Whereas in India, as you've seen, like, there are, I mean, with the fans of Sadhguru, as you can see, there are a lot of people like him operating in a country like India, and a lot of people follow these people and, you know, hang on their every single word. So it's really dangerous what he does, to be honest with you, and what people like him do.
I guess it's kind of like in America with the preachers who make millions and millions of dollars, like,
yes,
and fly private jets, like, and people think of them as like almost like God because they're speaking through the message.
You're onto something here. I think it's kind of like those self-help preachers. Is that what we're talking about here? Those kind of like, they include like religion and self-help, and they pull it together and like to save you and whatnot. I'd say that's practically what Sadhguru is, but it's the self-help part is masked as like spirituality, leadership, religious leadership. Like, imagine if these self-help gurus, right, could position themselves and somehow make people believe they were like Jesus, like the modern day Jesus. Then you would have, honestly, like, you would have most of the population of like most of the Christian population of the USA would support them and follow them, right? That's kind of what Sadhguru has done in India with the Hindu population. Like, from what I can see, the vast majority of people who follow him are Hindu, and that's a lot of people. So that's like a lot of Hindus who see him as this kind of like not God, I wouldn't say, but close enough, you know. So yeah, you are totally right. I think the closest thing in somewhere like the West is these preachers. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the famous one recently who was like he was on Twitter quite a bit recently because he was like laughing like demonically, like he kind of looks like a demon. That's why there's the meme. But basically, he's supposed to be this holier than thou great person, but he said he won't fly commercially and will only fly private jets because he doesn't want to be stuck in a tunnel with demons. So he like thinks so lowly of common people. So it's just like when you actually listen to these people, they're not nice people. So yeah, I avoid like the plague.
I don't think all of people are necessarily just assholes. I mean,
oh no.
When I look at Sadhguru and I've seen some of his older videos, he seems to be someone that spends a lot of time thinking about some of the more obscure questions in life, like the meaning of life. And he talks to people about like being good and compassion and having those values. I think he's probably just found himself in a situation where he's had a few years of people telling him how amazing he is, and he started to believe it, and he's got an ego now. And he's stopped questioning himself. I think maybe 10 or 15 or 20 years ago, maybe he would have questioned himself more and held himself more accountable. Who knows?
Now he's fucking believing the hype, wearing sunglasses and baseball caps for his interviews and shit. Like, nope, I'm not lying. Like, literally, like he's like dressing like some kind of like rapper these days in some interviews and stuff. Like, it's insane. But no, I think you're totally right. Yeah, I think you're totally right. I think I don't hate him. This is a thing, right? People seem to think I hate this guy. I don't hate him. I don't hate him at all. Like, I've watched some of his videos where I'm like, I can. Dude, come on, that's immature. What are you doing? What is this? I'm in a monologue here, bro. I'm monologuing right now. You're like totally distracting my monologue here. No, I've watched some of his videos and I'm like, yeah, that's pretty good. I like that. I agree with him. And there's some videos I've finished. I've been like, yeah, I'm actually like, I'm not surprised. Like, he does make sense sometimes. But then there's these other videos when he talks about the animals, and you're just like, bro, or like when he fucking rips into someone on stage, in front of everybody, and you're like, well, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? Like, how could he do that? So yeah, it's a mix for me. It's a mix, and it's the same with someone like Sam Harris, for example. People are upset with me for like ripping into Sadhguru, but not other people. I've ripped into Sam Harris. I've ripped into Eckhart Tolle. I've ripped into fucking what's his name? This Republican politician or whatever, political speaker. I can't remember his name now off the top of my head. I'm about to do a video. Well, I was going to do a video about Ben Shapiro, but actually that was going to be a positive video because Ben Shapiro responded really well when he was challenged about veganism, which is actually really funny because like there's this whole idea that right wingers and conservatives like would never ever consider veganism, and there's literally a video of Ben Shapiro saying veganism makes logical sense. I should consider that. So yeah, that I was.
I'm so surprised that he said that because he can be so ridiculous on other things. It just shows that like you think someone's like, like the guru. In some aspects, he can be really logical and thinking through things, but then so like numb to something so obvious. Yeah,
it's like you've got Sadhguru saying the animal needs to be worked and we're going to milk them, and they need to work, and they need to carry my cart around, all that shit. You've got Ben Shapiro saying, yeah, veganism seems like the logical choice.
I'm so surprised. Shapiro is such a meme. Like, he just says ridiculous things. So to hear, I thought, so what did he do this recently?
No, it was some time ago. This was some time ago.
Oh, but I thought he was. Oh.
I don't think he is vegan, but there's still like, it's still when someone like him, right, who is like says that, you're like, you know what, fuck that's good, I don't it's not good for the animals as such that he's not changed, but it's good that to see that someone like him, who, like you've said, can take ridiculous positions on some topics, but claims to be all about rationality and stuff, actually follows the reason here. Whereas like somebody like Sam Harris doesn't. Have you seen what Sam Harris says about veganism? Do you know who Sam Harris is? Is this basically he's like a who would you call him? Academic? I don't know what you call him. Like he's all about meditation and stuff, but he's also philosopher, like he's into psychology and stuff like that. And ask yourself, Isaac, challenged him on veganism, and he's been challenged other times too, and he just falls to pieces and makes a lot of shitty excuses, and all of his rationality goes out of the window. So it's it's pretty insane. We've got a super chat, but it's not a very nice one. Can we change the subject? I think being engaged is bored. I am. I'm saving my money for more super chats.
I was telling someone to super chat in the comments, and I think they thought I was bored, but I was just trying to give you love.
If someone's trying to get me to super chat to get me to change the subject, I think I've failed as a streamer.
They're paying you to shut up.
Literally, I'll give you $5 to shut the fuck up. All right,
I'm gonna start doing that.
I feel like we have to respect that.
I feel like we have to respect that. So we've got two choices. All right, guys. We can either go back to the first topic and get back into the sexy sex talk, or we can move on to another topic, which is actually the next topic would be discussing plant-based celebrities actually, and normally I just rip into it, but actually I've got some interesting positions I'd like to share with you on this. But either in the comments you can vote, or James and Ellie you can vote, or everybody can vote. Do you want us to talk more about sex and relationships and really get into the dark and dirty side of that, or do you want us to go talk about plant-based celebrities and not the usual kind of stuff, but actually I've got a interesting take on plant-based celebrities and how they could either be very, very good or very, very bad for the animals. So I'd like to know, what do you guys think?
For me personally, I think I'd exhausted the things that I needed to say about the sex and relationships. I can't think of what else would be needed to be said. So I'd happily go on to the next thing.
All right.
I mean, for me, you know me, David. I'm a man of science. I like to see look at meta-analyses and kind of what the science says. And I've looked, and there's just not a really kind of wealth and breadth of knowledge there. It's not been well studied in terms of vegans and sexuality. Like, what has just doesn't seem robust to me. So jury's out. I think let's wait and see. Someone's going to do a study on it. It's been in the news recently. I say let's move on.
Yeah, I don't really know what else we could get into with that. I mean, I said dark and dirty. I was just fucking around, but I really. Oh, we've got another super chat. The same person. This Trash Carcass says, "I love you guys. I just tuned in. Can we talk about George Martin's response to your interview with Paul and Asal?" I mean, we can go over that now before we jump into the plant-based celebs part. So, have you guys seen that, by the way?
I've not seen George's response. Maybe you could get it up.
I've seen.
I mean, it's long. It's long.
I've seen your interview with Paul and Asal, but I have not seen the George Martin response. So I wouldn't be very helpful.
Let me give you a quick overview. Yeah. So basically, for those of you that don't know, I did an interview with Paul and Asal from Anonymous for the Voiceless, and it was about 3 hours long. But as I said, as you might have guessed, it's all sectioned out. So if you want to go check it out, you can go and look at each section and see, because they were being accused of like racism, xenophobia, not xenophobia, sorry, transphobia, I think sexism as well. They got accused of like laundering money. They've been accused of so much shit. And we got into it, basically. We got into it in that interview. And we talked about somebody who used to work for Anonymous for the Voiceless, the social media team. He got fired. And I brought it up because people were asking, why did he get fired? And this is George Martin, or some of you might know him as Carnism Debunked. That's his YouTube, Facebook channels. So there was a comment that he'd made as Anonymous for the Voiceless on their social media, where somebody had made a comment on a post they made about the Holocaust, right? So they were saying that the Holocaust was bad, but basically, look, there's another Holocaust happening right now, and it's the animal Holocaust. Somebody had responded saying, well, that Holocaust wasn't justified, but the animal one is, because we need them for nutrition and shit like that. So someone had made that nasty comment, right? George responded saying something along the lines of, well, Hitler actually gave many justifications for what he did. He wrote an entire book about it, and that doesn't make it any better, kind of thing, right? He was like, it doesn't make it justifiable just because somebody tries to justify it. That's not how it works. But some people screenshotted that and took it out of context, and then it made him look like he was basically pro-Hitler, which he wasn't. But taken out of context, it looked really crazy. And I brought that up anyway. Paul and Asal mentioned that was part of it, but the main point that the reason they fired him, aside from that, was that he made another comment saying that some people don't believe that systematic oppression exists, right? Again, this is another out of context comment. Somebody was commenting about it, and he decided to make that comment saying, hey, look, we don't take a position on this as AV because some people believe it doesn't exist. So AV doesn't want to take a position either to say yes or it does or no, it doesn't. Okay. Paul and Asal weren't happy about that, and they messaged him and spoke to him and got on the phone with him and all that stuff, and they had a discussion. about this, and he said, no, I don't believe it exists. And they said, that's not okay, basically, and they fired him because of that. That's pretty much how it went, okay? Because they tried to show him how it does exist, and they told him to research it, and he disagreed and said, I still don't believe it exists. In the West, very specific here, in the West. In other countries, of course, he believes it exists, but he doesn't believe it exists in the West, systemic oppression. And they fired him. He's made a long response video about this topic, basically where he makes the argument that believing systemic oppression exists in the West is political. It is a political ideology. Like, it's leftists that believe it exists, and you know, the rest, right-wingers and a lot of centrists don't believe it exists in the West. They say our governments are not oppressive based on like gender or race. It's illegal in our countries, so therefore they don't believe it exists. But of course, liberals and people on the left, they believe it exists still. So he's making the argument that AV took a political stance by saying it does, and he was doing his job by being apolitical and saying we don't want to take a stance. That's the argument he brought up. That's his response to my interview with Paul Nassau. So what do you guys think about that? So basically, the core point here, I gave the whole story, but the core point he made, the core argument he has is that to say systemic oppression exists in the West is taking a political side, but Anonymous for the Voiceless claims they don't take a political side, but then they did when they fired him for that. That's his argument. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's hard to... Sorry, do you want to go first, Vegan Gaze?
I was just going to say it's difficult because from my recollection of the systematic oppression doesn't exist, in my head I'm reading it as that was a positive claim that was made. I can't remember it saying AV doesn't take a stance. So I can't really comment on that because I can't remember the actual comment that I'm seeing in my head. But I'd say it's factual that the systematic oppression does still exist. It's just to what degree that it exists in different places. That, like,
in the West,
I don't think,
in the West, is what he was saying. Yeah.
So I'd still say it's not political. It is factual that it does exist. It's just the degree and the method in which it's implemented that's where the politics comes in, because then you're talking motive, you're talking degree, you're talking effect, an outcome. That's when it gets political. So I wouldn't agree, but I think it's perfectly within AV's. It's fine for them if they think that there's something he believes that could be counterproductive, or, you know, something of a problem for their organization. I think it's fine for them to just be like, sorry, this doesn't align. So especially when he's in charge of the social media team, he's the one responding. You got to be careful about who you put in charge of that. So I'd absolutely have done the same thing straight away. So yeah,
I see this as actually two slightly different arguments, or two different stances. So one stance is from people who believe that while some people are still so oppressed, so systematically oppressed, it weakens our fight against the exploitation of animals. If we are going to be a truly, you know, a strong and united community of animal liberation, if we're going to be at our best, then we need to first stamp out these instances of systemic oppression. And I can kind of see an argument for that. On the other side, you've got people saying, or hang on, like, there's some really, really divisive issues in the movement, whether it's the Impossible Burger, or whether it's should be vegans be like anti-natalist, or whether it's the, you know, does systemic oppression exist? I don't know. I didn't really know there were so many people who believed it doesn't, but, you know, there's some really divisive issues in the animal rights movement, and a lot of people believe that we should stay away from them because those issues are messy and they cause a lot of fighting and arguments, and while ever we're arguing about that, it's taken us away from the actual animal holocaust that's happening. So my understanding is that's George's stance, like, let's not go near those issues because there's a holocaust happening right now and we need to stop it. Whereas other people think, hang on, we want to be at our best, so let's sort out these other issues first and then we'll come back to it. And at the end of the day, like, both those sets of people have the same ultimate end goal, I would argue. They want to achieve animal liberation. They just have a different opinion of the best way to do it. So I would argue that all these people have the same values, but a different opinion of how to achieve the ultimate end goal. And it kind of sucks to me to see those people fighting so hard when they actually have the same values. So
yeah,
I don't know. Like I'm a part of a different animal rights organization now, and you know, people are pushing very hard to try and get us to take a stance on really controversial issues. And the problem is, as soon as you take a stance on it, you're effectively alienating like a half of your potential supporters.
Yeah,
you're cutting your movement in half every time you take a stance on one of those issues.
I think like, well, okay. First of all, just to be transparent, I've actually messaged George and told him we're talking about him, and if he wants to join, he can join, and maybe he can explain it better. But to I want to address what you just said, James, actually, because I think, yeah, I think what you said makes complete sense, especially the last bit where it's like we have the same values, and it's so crazy how we can become so. We can completely like not work together because of opinions on other things, yet we hold the same values and so many other important things. And I think that was what the thought I had. I had a thought, I wanted to put it out, is that we also have to think who are we aiming for, right? You know, when we do activism, when we talk about what we talk about, like this live stream is exempt from this, because I'm not aiming to get anyone to go vegan or become an activist in this live stream, right? This is just for us to hang out and talk about whatever we talk about. But in our activism, in our outreach, in our actions, in our activism posts, like, what are we trying to do? And I came across a page earlier that I actually couldn't answer this question for, right? And this is relevant to what we're talking about, because, right, let me try and like get my thoughts in line. So if we are going out there and we are trying to achieve animal liberation as the core focus, right? And we end up going on about other ideologies, like fringe ideologies, fringe groups, fringe movements, fringe ideas, and we try and insert them all into our activism, then of course we're only going to be reaching a fringe group. Like the average person works for, I don't know, whatever, 39 hours a week, right? Let's say they come home from work from a 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. shift. They open up Instagram and Facebook. They see a post from Earthling Ed, and it's like, you've been lied to. And it's like, boom, 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 right? Or they see a post from one of these fucking, I don't know what you even want to call them, right? One of these people that likes to like try and insert really fringe liberal ideologies into their activism. And it's very, a lot of buzzwords and a lot of like involving lots of different things, and like, you know, and this person sat there looking at these two posts. Which of these two posts do you think is going to reach the average person? And I think we just need to start to consider more of like our messaging. Like, are you acting like a real person, or are you acting like a member of a fringe ideological group, right? You might be a member of a fringe ideological group, don't get me wrong, a really radical group. But when you're trying to reach people that aren't radical, you can't look like a fucking radical ideological nutcase. You have to look like an average person. You have to talk like an average person. And when we get into these huge fucking arguments about things that are like, as you said, James, like things that are really, really controversial, and we start to talk about, you see people sharing these like really obscure theories and ideas about things that are extremely complicated and controversial, and then attacking you because you don't agree. And you're like, how the fuck does this help anyone go vegan or help anyone change their mindset? Like, apart from if they're already in with this mindset, right? You're preaching to the choir. So that's, I just wanted to like follow up on your point with that. But my answer to the George question though, about like, you know, what he said in his video, it's like, you talked about like systemic oppression in the West. It is factual that it exists, right? That's what you said. It's factual that it exists, but it is also factual that there are many people who are part of the oppressed who say it doesn't exist. So then how can we, you know, especially me and you, James, as two people who would not be considered to be in that oppressed group in any way, how can we say to somebody who is in that oppressed group, no, you are oppressed, when they're like, no, I'm fucking not? And I'm saying, I say, no, it's a fact that you are. Listen to me. No, I can't say that. I cannot say that. I have to, you know, so the kind of concept all falls on itself. You know what I mean? It implodes on itself, because it's like, okay, people that look like me and you, James, we have to listen to people of color, to listen to trans people, we have to listen to women, because these are the people that are being systematically oppressed, right? But there are so many people in those groups that do not believe they are being they don't believe in systemic oppression. So who do we listen to? And to take a stance on this does put you in one of these political groups, because they tend to be conservatives, the people who believe this. Right? Whereas the people who believe it does exist tend to be liberals. So you are taking a political side if you say you believe one or the other. That's his argument. And I kind of understand that. And actually, by the way, he's here. I don't know if you, should I bring him in?
I'd say just before, otherwise I'll forget.
Okay.
It's difficult though, because you could put it in the animal context, right? A lot of animals are not going to know they're victims. They're not going to know they're being oppressed and exploited. So just because somebody doesn't necessarily know doesn't suddenly mean it's kind of one or the other. So I wouldn't go up to someone and be like, yeah, you are. Like, you know, you are. I don't care what you say. It's just the difficulty when you're talking veganism, because you know my channel. I am making stuff for non-vegans, but a lot of my stuff is just for vegans, just to kind of be like, oh, like a cathartic place to laugh at vegetarians and stuff like that. So it's just like, well, you've already got something that divides people so much and is so, you know, it causes so much emotion that you add something else, you know, you add someone into equation who, like for me, for example, I've had to talk to someone who didn't like gays, then another bit of emotion is added to my discussion and you're not going to get anywhere. When it becomes too personal, you got too much in it, you're not going to get far. So I do see why people want to segment things and then just make it about veganism, because otherwise you're not going to get far. And I do understand that, but it's a bigger world than just veganism. That's when it becomes like, oh, should we talk about other things then? But yeah.
Well, let's bring him in. Let's see. Let's kind of. I'll put. I don't know if he's caught what everyone else just said, but let's see if you caught anything. Hey man, you're live.
Hey, you're right, folks. Yeah, I caught a bit of that.
Cool.
I can only stick around for like 10 minutes or something like that. If there's anything you want to ask me, just do.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, let's just go back to Ellie's last point there, because I think that was the one that made a lot of sense as a potential counter to what you said. About you're saying in your video about how there are conservatives who are black and female and trans and LGB who actually don't believe in systemic oppression. And Ellie just made an interesting point there that some people, and so especially non-humans, they don't even know that they're victims of systemic oppression, but yet they are. So that would make that, you know, them saying that would not necessarily be the be all end all of that, if that makes sense.
Systemic oppression could be true, and those people who don't realize they're oppressed could be. And on the other hand, it could not be true, and the people who think they are can't be. So it works both ways, and this is why it's important to have the neutrality as an organization. It's a big culture war going on. You know, it's not just a case of, like I said in the video, a few loonies like me and Gemma just saying, you know, and me injecting my own personal views into it, which I hope I proved in the video I wasn't doing with the little Toy Story analogy I made and the NHS analogy I made. But there's two big sides of this ongoing culture war raging on right now. And for me, even though what Ellie said there is true, I don't think that necessarily, you know, it works the other way as well.
Sure.
So I've got a question for kind of everyone, if that's okay. And I'm not the most educated in this area, but I would like to know why is the focus always on systemic oppression? Because there's so much oppression going on that I would argue is cultural as well. You know, as I was growing up, I've seen so much oppression against like homosexuality, against people of color, and I've seen it like day in, day out. There's a lot of it out there. You know, we've seen all the racism on Twitter recently with the Sainsbury's advert and things like that. It's out there, and I just don't understand why it matters whether it's systemic. I don't know. Has anyone got a good response to that?
Well, okay. the problem is, it's not that. It's not taking some kind of weird political stance to just be against all these things that are a moral obligation to be against. So it's a moral obligation to be against sexism, racism, homophobia, speciesism, blah, blah, blah. The point is where it gets political is where you start inferring that certain groups are oppressed by the government and the police en masse in Western countries. And a lot of people are like, that's really not the case, including gay people, black people, women, and that's what makes it political rather than just like a sort of moral obligation type thing. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, although just because the police might not be all coming together to choose to oppress black people doesn't mean that we don't live in a culture where white people, that there's a, I'm not going to say significant proportion, I don't know what proportion of, you know, white people in England where we both live, I don't know what proportion of them are kind of outwardly racist and, you know, committing crimes against black people, but we still live in a culture where that kind of happens quite a lot, regardless of whether they're choosing to all come together and do it.
Could I should make a comment here as well. I mean, look, the Sainsbury's advert, right? This is a good example. The Sainsbury's Christmas commercial brought out a lot of people making some pretty they know what? Like I looked through the comments, and yeah, there was some racist comments, but a lot of them were just really inappropriate. Like I wouldn't say they were racist; they were just pathetic more than racist. Like they weren't like saying like specifically racist, horrible things against the people in the ad. They were just making complaints that because they wanted white people. Like they wanted people who looked like them. I don't know if that classes as racist. That just classes as them being a little bit thick, I think. And I don't know if that maybe even I'm not allowed to say that anymore, am I? What do you even say these days to somebody who's like a bit?
I think it was dumb and racist. I think that those comments, the majority of those comments were racist, because why would they have a problem with it? I mean, you wouldn't have a problem if some woman in it was. You know, apply it to literally any other thing. Imagine if I said, fucking hell, why you got a woman in the advert? Like, you'd think.
Yeah. But my point, I hadn't finished the point though. Let me finish the point, because I sound like a piece of shit right now.
Please.
No, some of them absolutely were racist. I'm saying some of them, a lot of them were, but then a lot of them were just shitty is my point. But the main point is the media's jumped on that, right? And they've jumped on it and they've blown it up, and it's this huge fucking thing. And it's like everybody thinks like Britain is racist, and all these people look at this. But where is the media stories covering all the fantastic, amazing, beautiful people that made fucking beautiful comments about this advertisement? And if you go look at the comments, right, anyone making a shitty comment is getting smashed by people. And the ones who have made the nice comments have got like thousands of likes and loads of comments of, why is the media not showing, look at these beautiful people that are like so accepting? No. They focus on all the fucking morons who are being horrible.
And this is my personal opinion here, guys. So some of you may disagree with it, because I think the media also has a left bias and wants to push. They want to push the negativity and the racism more than they do the positivity and the fact that, you know, for the most part, people are safe here.
My argument would actually be that you're being too political there, because I'd say that it's the media's job, no matter what bias they have, because they do have certain spins, to take negative news, because negativity does sell, because people function better on fear, they function better on, you know, panic. So I think it's more sociological in that sense than political. I know sociology is political. No, I mean, arguably everything's political, but I don't think it's a left or right bias in that sense. I think negativity just sells. So that's what they do.
I agree with you. First part there, really. I was being political. That was my opinion, and I wouldn't inject that into AV. If someone commented that on AV, I would not have replied saying, well, you see, the media is run by the left and blah, blah, blah. I wouldn't have ever said that. And this seems to be the thing that Asal and Paul thought I was doing, but wasn't. I'd have answered like how I answered to any comment.
Yeah.
So I've got a question, and it's slightly going back maybe a couple of sentences. But it's why should we accept that? Like, I know the media might have been reporting all the bad ones, but if someone was to say to anyone on this call, on this stream, like, oh yeah, but I'm only going to eat meat like once a week, you'd say, like even once is too much. So why is it?
Yeah.
Well, there weren't that many racist comments on there. We wouldn't. Why would we? You don't accept just a little bit of racism, or just
we're not accepting it. We're not accepting it. We're not accepting it. Those comments, I told you, man, people are fucking destroying those people. There's people on there saying, I've screenshotted this and I'm sending it to your employer. Like, people are handling it, right? It's not being ignored. And the point, but my point is that, like, there was an analogy, and I've not watched the video this analogy came from, but I'm going to watch the full video. But someone told me the analogy from this guy who said this. It's like, if you've got like, let's imagine like, this is the amount of racism in the Sainsbury's post comments, right? That's the amount of racism, and that's the amount of positivity, right? But this is the racism. Somebody is shining a light on it and casting a shadow on the wall, so it looks like it's fucking huge, right? But it's not. It's this much, and that's not okay. That's not okay.
Yeah,
but it's not this much.
It's what the media
it's
does
not
best.
this exactly, and it's not okay. But it's not as bad as it's being made out to be. It still needs to be dealt with, but it's not a fucking epidemic. You know what I mean? It's not like we're just a racist country. It's just, you know, millions and millions of racists. It's like, no, there are literally so many people on that post with so many beautiful comments. So it's not how it's being portrayed. That's the point I'm trying to get at. Even though those comments are shit and they should be dealt with. That's my point.
That's just the thing with the media. I don't think, like, can you find for me like a news piece that solely focuses on good news? There isn't one. Like, nobody, like, people don't care about good news, like, unless something really bad has happened before that good news has happened. Like, I
care about it now. I'm sick of this year, man. I'm sick of all this fucking negativity going around. I want to get just some good news for a fucking change.
It would be nice.
Yeah, it would be nice.
And I think that is, like, because this is why I have no real interest in politics, because I just think that they are strings of the same hand. I really do. I don't even, when I look at them, I think they're kind of the same. Like when you look into things like whether or not the world's becoming more peaceful, whether people are becoming nicer, it looks like when you account for population, that actually that is the case. The world is becoming more peaceful as people become more intelligent and we learn more. But I don't think they want us to know that. I think they want us to think that it's this horrible place and there's all these stabbings happening, all these shootings, all these groups, everyone's out to get you, scary, because they don't want you liking your neighbor. Because if you liked your neighbor, then you wouldn't like your government. And that's how I feel about it. So
totally right. I don't know if
I just can't be asked.
you know, I don't know about before COVID. Sorry, but I mean after. I can't even say that. This thing's got demonetized now. It's over. But no, I don't know. After all of that shit, right? I can't tell you what the situation is now. Before all of that shit, we had the least amount of people in history in extreme poverty. We had the least amount of people dying from preventable diseases. We have the most people educated in the history of the world. Yet we have the biggest population in history. So you're absolutely right. Like all the metrics are showing that we're making progress and things are better than they have ever been. The most peace, like you said, like in the past, like all the fucking wars and killings and all the conflicts. There are still wars and conflicts happening now, but nowhere near as many as there have been historically. So you are right, but
David, I've got to go, mate. Thanks for letting me on quickly, mate. And drop me a message after to say whatever was discussed.
All right, man. Enjoy.
Thanks, George.
Catch you all later. Bye bye.
All right. So you're totally right, Ellie. My point is you're totally right. But that's not a good message for the people, because then you're right. The people aren't panicking. They'll start to be fucking happy with their lives, which means they'll start to question things that make them unhappy, which is a problem for the governments in most countries, because they're not really in the business of helping people and making them happy. They're in the business of they're not doing it on purpose, I guess, but they've got their own wants and their own things they want to put in place, and it's not always at the benefit of everybody, right? And people would start to come together and do something about it. But yeah, you're totally right. You're totally right. And you should watch this documentary. I can't remember what it's called. Anybody in the comments, do you know this documentary? It's about the population of the world and how, although it's increased, actually things are getting better. And it's this scientist. He's a crazy guy. He's like insane. I think he died maybe 2 years ago, maybe last year. But he's a really good eccentric guy, and he gives all this data and statistics, and it's really, really cool. And it's only like an hour and a half long, I think, but I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, I watched that and it just, it blew my mind, because I was like, I had this idea that doom and gloom, we're all fucked, we've got too many people, poverty and all this. But like, yes, one person dying of starvation is too many. I totally agree with you, James. You're totally right on that. We're not out of the woods yet, but it is still before this whole situation, it's still been like the least ever in terms of like, global history. So things were better than they have ever been. Maybe not now though, because of all this crap. But if I can find that documentary, if it comes back to me, I'll bring it up. But that was a topic, wasn't it? Fuck.
It's just, you do have to come away from stuff like this, because people are like, oh, all these shootings that happen, all these stabbings. It's like, but you have to remember, you have access to global news. We never had that. You'd hear about things happening, like go to any time, like Roman time, Viking times. You'd hear in a neighboring town that someone had been beheaded, and that's what you'd hear. You wouldn't, but little did you know that while they were being beheaded, hundreds of other people were as well. But you wouldn't have that knowledge. We've got too much knowledge at our fingertips and one brain. That's it. So we just need to remember that we just have more access than we probably should. So yeah.
We don't know what the hell to do with it.
No.
We don't know what the hell. We don't know what to do with it. It's insane.
No.
We've got another super chat.
I have found. Oh yeah. What is it? 1 second. I was just finding this documentary. I found it, and it is now in the comments. The documentary is called "Don't Panic." It's called "Don't Panic," and it's fucking awesome. Honestly, it's a really cool documentary. But let's just pop this up. Thanks for having George on. Why are people not questioning where Save is spending 15 million? If anyone has a link, I would appreciate it. Oh. That's I've not spoken about the Save movement since my whole situation with them, and I kind of want to keep it that way. I feel like I'm way too biased on this because of the how things ended. But I don't know. I'm going to make no comment. Do you guys have any comment on that? Like, where Animal Safe Movement is spending $15 million a year?
I didn't even know that, so I can't really comment. I do understand though that running organizations, if you're paying people, it does become quite an expensive thing. And just not knowing how much people even need, like I've never looked into the financial need. I've never been in charge of someone else's paycheck. So I don't know, but that seems like a bit much from a,
I don't know where that number's coming from. I don't know where that number's, this is the first I've heard, to be honest with you. I don't know if they're getting 15 million. I don't want to lie on this. I'd love to say some shit about Save, but I'm like I said, I'm holding back. I want to be rational here. I don't know what's, and I wouldn't even love to say shit about them. I take that back. I've got nothing to do with them, and I don't really want anything to do with the core team. That is, I've no idea if that is how much money they're getting, and I've no idea where they're spending that much if they are getting that much. I really, haven't a clue.
I mean, I've got experience of employing large staff teams, and I can totally understand where money just disappears once you get into like paying lots of people's salaries and human resource costs and national insurance and taxes and all those things. But I do have kind of knowledge from people who are more qualified than me to, they've had more involvement with Save Movement than I have, that have anecdotally told me about lots of times where they've not been fiscally responsible, investments that have not been utilized or equipment that's been bought. But I don't have permission to kind of share that information. I don't want to get in trouble. So, and that's just anecdotal evidence. So, I think they're probably not fiscally responsible, but whether they're actually intentionally mismanaging it, I don't know. I would suspect that there's probably just people running, a large multinational organization that probably aren't qualified to do that.
Oh yeah, I mean that's something I can say with absolute certainty. Yeah, it's that it's not being run by people who know. The person running it does not know how to run a business, and unfortunately or fortunately, whatever you want to call it, when your organization gets to this size, it's no longer a little thing that can be managed by anyone. It needs to be run by someone who is a business person. You need to understand business to run something that's getting that much money coming in and out. But thank you so much for the super chat. Trash Carcass is a horrible name for your YouTube account, by the way. But thank you so much for these super chats. It really means a lot. And also to Michael as well, who just gave a super chat, £15. Dude, that is insane. Thank you so much. That means so bloody much. It's tough getting onto these. Doing like 2 or 3 hours of live streaming, and it makes it really feel good when people come on and support you and like you're enjoying it. It makes me want to do it every day. Honestly, it's awesome. Some days, today, I'll be honest with you, before I came on here, I was a bit like, not like I love doing this, but sometimes you feel tired, Like I don't know about you two right now, but I'm working like 7 days a week on editing, filming, social media. Like I don't have a day off right now. Like it's and come all Sunday I'm just kind of it comes Sunday when I go to do this Sunday live, I'm thinking like, oh my god, like I'm kind of like mentally gone. But I'm happy that you guys are here this week, so I don't have to, it's harder on my own. I
was up at 6 this morning, still editing, so you're around the clock, and then you've got other things that you need to do, so so it is nice when people super chat, because then it kind of pays for it, because otherwise you just so it feels
good. It feels really good. It feels good that people are enjoying it. And as I said, this is not a burden to me. I love doing this, but you still get tired. We're human,
not only that, it's not a burden, it's fun, but obviously because of the way the world is, the time is money and all that ridiculous. So so it is nice to be able to have a nice time doing something you're passionate about, and then actually getting more time to do it, because that's what money is.
We've got another one from Trash Carcass again. You keep making me say that horrible name, Trash Carcass. Supposedly, I will answer this, but I don't really know. I mean, this okay. Let's say it's making 10 times more than AV. I get what you're getting at here. Basically, this is what Paul and Asal said too. It's like, right. So Paul and Asal, they were making 1.5 million, they were receiving 1.5 million from a donor, and they were being demanded to give their financials over, and some of the public was also demanding that they come out and go completely transparent. And I guess the point you're making here, Trash Carcass, is the same point they were making, is that, okay, why are you all calling for us to be transparent when there are, Save is making 10 times more than us, receiving 10 times more than us. Joey Carbstronger is receiving an absolute shit ton. Even Earthling Ed is receiving like a hell of a lot of money. Why are we the ones that have to go transparent and none of these others do? That's kind of the point they were making, and they've got no problem with going transparent to the donor, which they agreed to do. But what they were kind of pissed off about was that why the public calling for us as if we've done something wrong? Why do we have to give all our financials out to the internet and none of these others are doing it? It seems a bit ridiculous. So yeah, I can see your point with this.
I could rant about it all day, to be honest with you, because it is really annoying, especially when you start talking about like independents like Joey Carbstrong or Earthling Ed, who are making a lot of money as independents. They don't have to, like, they do have to pay people because they pay like people to edit their videos for them and whatnot, but they're not an organization, they're an individual. That's who they are, and they're getting a lot of money. And so when you're an individual versus an organization, you have a lot more freedom when someone gives you a load of money. And then they're not asked to, like, for the longest time, someone like Joey, and I'm not saying you need to, but he didn't have his Patreon public, for how much money he was giving, and people were kind of like a bit concerned about that. But I don't think you necessarily should. Like, I mean, I have my Patreon public. It just feels right to do. I don't have my bank details public, So, I don't, it'd be kind of sad. People would shed a tear. But it's just like, actually, the problem, we shouldn't get all these people, because the people who get annoyed are like people like myself or like you who could like easily, really, if you got like just a portion of that, be able to do this full time and have it supplemented. And I'd absolutely love to be in that position. And that's why it frustrates me when I see loads of money being thrown around and don't know what's happening with it. Because I'm like, oh, can I have some of that? But then you have all those people who are like myself, like fighting over it. And it's like, actually, like, shouldn't we be more concerned about the distribution, in the sense that we should all be getting like a chunk of that so we can do this full time? Because if we're doing it full time, we could have so much more of an impact. It should be like, yeah, more money, distribute it better. Not like, oh no, you shouldn't be earning money from this. This is a virtuous thing. Like, nobody should be getting money. It's like, well, okay, how are we going to do it then? Like,
so the model at the minute is not perfect, is it? The model's not perfect. You got some people who are, like, let's be honest, putting out great content, working really hard for the animals, and they're receiving like a butt ton of money. But the problem is, the way I see it, like, that's individual people like me say, I'm a fan of Earthling Ed, I think he does great work, and I want to support that. So I take £10 of my money and give it to Ed to fund him going and doing some future activism, because I trust that he will be a good ambassador for veganism and he's going to do some good work with that £10. And all of a sudden I've got Billy over in the corner saying, hang on, Ed doesn't deserve to have that money. Like, he's not doing a very good job of it. And I'm thinking, hang on, Billy, shut the fuck up. I've chose to support Ed with my money. Like, stop telling him that he doesn't deserve it, because I've chose to give my money to that person.
That's the thing. He would deserve it, and Billy would probably deserve it. So it shouldn't be a kind of like, don't give it to them, give it to me. It should be like oh yeah, give it to them, they're good. And let's incentivize more people to be able to be full time. Because it doesn't necessarily mean that if they're getting the tenner, someone else isn't.
No, that's exactly it.
So,
the pie is big enough. This is we've got this this obsession, or not we, but like there's a lot of vegans with this obsession with like what's the word? The scarcity mindset. Like, if all this money is going to Ed, then there's no money going to go here. And it's like, well, okay, Ed did some specific things to get to the point where he's getting that much money donated. Why don't you do the same thing for whatever you're doing? So Sanctuary is a perfect example, right? So people complain about sanctuaries not getting enough funding. It's like, that's fair. They don't get enough funding, right? How does Ed get funding? Well, he puts out content. He asks for funding. He goes to donors. He's done a lot of work. So if you really, really, really want to help that sanctuary, how about you sign up as a full-time employee, as full-time volunteer, or whatever, part-time volunteer, and you create content for them, you make videos for them, you reach out to potential donors for them. If you put your money where your mouth is, then, because you don't, unfortunately, we don't live in a world where just doing good work gets you money. You need to do good work, and you need to be showing others who have money, right, that, look, you need to help me so I can keep doing my good work. And if you never reach them, they'll never give you money because they don't know you exist. So this, you've got to make the connections, right? So it's like, if you can stop complaining about Ed, and maybe instead of complaining about him, why don't you follow his path and do what he did, or Joey, right? Or if it's AV, like, do you think AV just one day got $1.5 million just for doing nothing? Of course they fucking didn't. Like, Jesus, like, love them or hate them, they worked fucking hard to build that organization and get that money from a donor. It doesn't just pop up, like, they don't, like, some little group in I don't know, Slough, UK starts doing activism, they're not going to get $1.5 million. Like, you need to have built a reputation and a network to get that kind of money.
Provide value for money, though, right? And you need people to believe that you will provide value for that money, whether it's creating the furtherment of a vegan world, or it's rescuing and taking care of animals. People need to know about you and believe that you're going to provide value for that money. And like you say, that there's a lot of sanctuaries out there arguing on Facebook about not getting enough money, and I 100% agree. They don't get enough money. We all know sanctuaries are black holes for money. They're always struggling. They're always desperate. But the thing is, some of these people I've seen arguing on the internet about it, no one knows this sanctuary exists. And, instead of tearing down the people we don't agree with, why don't we all just make a little mission ourselves to start elevating these people that need help, or elevating the people that have a mission, like have values that we resonate with, or we want to get behind them.
Like a good example,
Ed or James or whoever.
Like a good example of that is, like, recently someone put out a thing that the retreat animal sanctuary, because of the lockdown, would struggle again and not have money. People could have complained, like, say I could have complained that, sanctuaries don't get money, but what I saw instead, I was like, okay, well, Chris Hines and we did a charity live stream. There weren't many viewers or anything. I think it ended up getting 400 views, but we raised £300. So just you've just got to create that platform. It's like, okay, well, if they're not getting the money, then just create that platform, and you probably could do it. So, that's either 300 quid that they can use, or complaining and nothing happens. So
exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's like, if you can get where these go, wherever these go, money goes. Simple as that, right? So if you can get eyes on a sanctuary, the money's going to go to the sanctuary. And that doesn't just mean like, making an Instagram post. That doesn't get eyes on. That gets people to look at your Instagram post, maybe go to their page, but they won't donate, right? You need attention. You need attention to be on it for like a significant amount of time with a significant interest. Then you'll get the money for the sanctuary, right? So it's like I just said again, if you're pissed off with Ed, don't get pissed off with Ed or Joey. Look at what they're doing and watch what they're doing. See how they're earning so much money, and go and help a sanctuary by putting that into practice. If you are a sanctuary owner, I understand you don't have time for that. That's totally fine. I'm not referring to the owners, because normally it's not the sanctuary owners that are doing the complaining about Ed or whatever. They're complaining about money in general. It's normally the armchair activist assholes who are shouting about Ed and Joey and actually like not making any efforts to raise money for the sanctuary, apart from maybe posting a petition or posting up the fucking fundraiser. It's like, what do you think posting a fundraiser is going to do? Like, I'm sorry, like just posting a thing like, click here to donate. Yeah, you'll catch a few people, but this is 2020. That shit is like 1990. Like, going out with a piece of paper and signing it. It's just a digital version of that. You got to do something more. You got to do a live stream. You've got to make a special video. You've got to reach out to about 200 influencers and ask all of them the same question. Would you feature in a video for me for a fundraiser? And guess what? Out of 200, 2 of them are going to reply, right? And maybe that's another 200,000 people now that are going to see it because you reached out to 200 people. Use your fucking brain. As you can see, I'm passionate about this, but I get so pissed off with people like complaining without actually taking steps to fix the problem that they're complaining about, right? And this doesn't count for sanctuary owners. This is for the people who complain about Ed and Joey, etc. I'm not talking about the sanctuary owners, so please don't take this the wrong way. They're very, very, very hardworking, busy people. This is not aimed at them. It's aimed at all these morons that keep bitching. That's what I'm aiming this at.
So let's talk about that for a minute then. There's a viewpoint, like it's rampant on the internet, that, well, hang on a minute, you've got this massive platform, therefore you've got a responsibility to use it in the right way. The problem is the people commenting that don't know what the right way is as much as they think they do. For instance, they probably don't know about YouTube algorithms and Facebook algorithms. They think you're not posting about all these hundreds of sanctuaries. What they don't realize is if this person posts like 100 posts in a day, no one's going to see any of them because the algorithms are just going to bury them. You've got to understand and work social media in a certain way. And I mean, I don't like doing it, but I see lots of worthy causes, but I know that every day I've pretty much got to pick what I think is the most important one and share it, because no one's going to see anything else I post that day.
Yeah, it's not only that though, dude. Like I've had to make a rule with my social media to not post about any cause or sanctuary specifically unless I personally know the person that runs it or works there, or I have been there myself, right? Because otherwise it's like I can't with all of my heart put loads of effort into posting about a place that I know nothing about and that I don't actually know if they're a good sanctuary or not, right? I mean, what the fuck am I doing? Like somebody reaches out to me, says we need help, and I'm like, what? I'm gonna irresponsibly repost that without actually even knowing this place or whether they're even using the money properly, right? That's number one. Number two, I get so many requests that I literally I can't do it. Like it's not possible. And not just because they won't see it, like you said, but because people will unfollow, people will stop supporting me because they'll feel like all I am is asking money off them, right? And that's another problem. You lose your base, and then once you've lost the eyes, the money stops anyway. If you completely like push, like, I don't know, hundreds of followers away because they're sick of seeing you constantly ask for money, then you've failed at fundraising. You can't help any sanctuary because people are like, oh fuck this, I don't want to be constantly told to pay money up, So there's so much to this. There's so much to this that it's completely ignored by these people.
On the other side, I've definitely heard a few, and again, it's anecdotal, but a few horror stories of someone who I know and trust, somebody who works very closely with a well-known and well-respected sanctuary, a very, very well-known sanctuary in the UK. And when they've reached out to a very, very well-known vegan celebrity and asked them to do a collaboration, they were basically told, yeah, it's going to cost you this many £1,000s for me to come and promote your sanctuary. And
a sanctuary.
What?
Wait, a vegan
sanctuary has reached out to a vegan celebrity and asked, like, we're desperate for funds. We're in a really tough situation. Will you do something with us? Either post on social media or come and do some videos here or just help us spread the word. And they were basically told, yeah, it's going to cost you this many £1,000s. You're
a man of science, right? Show me the evidence. Show me the evidence.
I don't have permission to share that. And that's why I'm not even saying who it is and what sanctuary it is.
Hold on. Are you saying you have evidence?
I have no evidence. I've been told that by someone I trust. I have no evidence that that's happened, apart from the fact that I trust the person who's told me.
Where did they get it from?
From the sanctuary.
Okay.
The person I trust has seen the messages. Has seen the messages saying, this is how many £1,000 it's going to cost you.
Yeah, I'd love to
I'll tell you personally, but this is a very well-known vegan celebrity.
I'd love to get outraged with you right now. I really would, but like I just don't buy it. I just don't buy it. I know a similar story, a very similar story to what you're saying, but this was for a vegan food festival where another very well-known vegan activist, vegan celebrity, whatever you want to call them, he it's one of three now. he turned it down. Although I didn't turn it down, he requested a very large sum of money to appear at it, and the people who were involved in this were very upset. But and I actually discussed it with Annie. This is an example that I know was real. Like I know this was true because I believe the person in question had like said, yes, this is what I'm, this is it. Like it wasn't embarrassed about it, and the sum of money was very large. But then when we and Annie talked about it when we discussed it. This is a vegan food festival, right? So you got to think about all the money that this place would make. It's like huge festival. And the tickets to get in were like €20 each. And then the food in there was like a certain amount and then all the vendors will be paying. So in that case, I feel like you're kind of justified if you're a big, and also, by the way, if you are such a big celebrity and you're going to appear at a festival, you calculate how many ticket sales you being there would bring. And then you work out your cost based on that, right? So in this case, the amount seemed very big, but then when you work all that out, it isn't very big. But I think the sanctuary thing I can't comment on, but I do want to comment on this idea that people seem to have that like vegans, celebrities, and vegan speakers should appear at vegan events for free. I think that's bullshit. If the event is designed to make a profit, then the speakers and celebrities who are attending should also make a profit. We're not.
Oh yeah, if it's a profit thing, then yeah. If it's non-profit, then absolutely not.
No. Of course, yeah. But I think vegans especially, have this mindset that like vegans just aren't allowed to make money. That's the mindset.
George,
we're just not allowed.
No.
George did a good video where he talked about like how much we get shamed for the fact that vegan. And let me just put this out there: I don't make any money from veganism. I'd love to work full time in veganism sometime if I can make it sustainable in the future. But currently, I don't make a penny. In fact, it costs me so much money going and doing all my activism and making content and things. But there's such an element of shame in the community for anyone that dare make money from veganism. But at the end of the day, if someone's good at it and they make a difference and they're influencing behavior change on a big level from lots of people, I would like them to be doing it like full time. I would like to make the most of their skills. I don't want them working at Tesco stacking shelves when they could be out there making content every day. I mean, you get to make videos like every week and this is what you try to do. I'm there in a high pressure job and doing a master's degree and then spending a few hours at weekends like making videos, and it might take me a month to put out one video, whereas people going full time can do 2 or 3 a week.
Yeah. Do you want me to tell you something? I'll tell you something interesting, man. I've been making these videos with this YouTube channel since November 2017. And recently I've been able to step it up and do it like, you know, full time, basically like working full time. I'm in a position where fortunately I don't have many outgoings, so I am in a good position to be able to do this right now and make it work, try and make it work. So whilst I'm doing this right now, YouTube at the moment, I'm getting from YouTube ad revenue about let's do it all in dollars, because I think that's going to be easier for me to work out. YouTube ad revenue is like $100 to $120 a month, right? And bear in mind how many videos I'm putting out right now, and think about that for a second. That's not a lot. And then the Patreon is ranging between, it's been as high as $280, and I believe right now it's at like $240 a month. And that's it, right? So like, I guess the point I'm getting at here is that that's not sustainable at all. So if here's how it's going to go, right? If that doesn't increase, if people don't continue, if people don't support me, if people don't join up my Patreon, if my YouTube videos don't take off, if I don't get some kind of donor to help me, what you've just said is going to happen. I'm going to have to go and get a job, which I'm not averse to. I'll do it, but then it means I'll be able to produce less videos. And then obviously, if I get a job that's stressful, as you're talking about, then I'll definitely won't be able to do as many videos, right? And it's the people that are causing this problem. I would bet if this attitude wasn't here, this attitude from other vegans bitching and shitting on other vegans making money, if that wasn't here, I don't think I'd be having this problem right now. I think if other vegans weren't being dissuaded from supporting vegans, like vegans in full-time jobs, contributing money, let's say, to vegans who's full-time, they've made their full-time job creating animal rights and vegan content. If that wasn't being shamed, I think we'd have way more full-time activists and full-time content creators. I believe the reason we don't is because of this shame around the money. I think that's a huge component of why people like you, James, can't go full-time right now, because you won't be able to support yourself because of these people who shame people for supporting you. It's like, it's all intertwined, you know?
I'm in the same position. I've got a Patreon. It's the highest it's ever been. I think it's like 120. I think it was 140 for a little while, but now it's back down to 80 a month. And then they take that, and that's in dollars. So then when it becomes pounds, it's even less. So it's about 40 quid. And I have a job, but I'm bank staff for a hospital. So I can go when I pick. So because I get that, and I don't get many views from my videos, I get about 500 views a video, basically, on average. And so, yeah, I'm making about 80 a month. So my outgoings are still more. So, and it's the same, like for me, I'm gonna have to go back when I feel ready, sort of thing. And I don't want to. I'd love to do this full time. Like I've done this for 6 years. For the first 3 years, it was not monetizable because I was too small. And so, you know, I've spent loads of money on it, and just the thought of it being a full-time thing I could do, and you know, I did outreach and stuff like that, but as James knows, it's really expensive to just get to places, do all the things, take the day off work, you know, stuff like that. But again, yeah, if the attitude was a lot better, I don't think any of us would be in this position, really. I mean, some would, but yeah.
You know what's insane? Like I've thought about this as well before. Like my so here on YouTube, and check this out, guys. Like for the people, for everyone watching, like don't feel pressured here, right? I'm just putting this out as an example, all right? But on my YouTube, I've got almost 6,000 subscribers. On my Instagram, I've got around 26,000 subscribers, right? That's a lot of fucking people. That's a lot of people, right? And of those people, I would say, like, you know, let's just round it down, 30,000 people. Of those people, let's imagine that only 10% of those people actually support me and actually like me. Let's just really lowball it. 10%. 10% of those people are like vegan, ethical, they love my work, they're like, I want you to do this full time. That's 3,000 people. If half of those people contributed $1 a month to me, that's $1,500 a month, and I'm set, and I can do this forever. I can do this every month forever with $1,500 a month. Always. Easy. done. That's literally all it takes. And it's so, I don't know how to get that message across any more clearer than that. It's like $1 a month is nothing for most people that are on YouTube and Instagram and that have time to watch this kind of thing. $1 a month is doable. And if 1,500 people do it, I'm there, I'm done full time. I'm in, I'm full time. I'll never have to worry. That's it. It's that simple, you know?
Yeah. And as well as that, like, you even give incentives like on Patreon, like exclusive content, like extra videos, and still it's just not. And then it makes it worse when people like, because you're giving content for free, and then people might say things like, oh, it's too long, or like, so it's just like, you're getting it for free. I spent 5 hours editing this video. And so it does get a bit like, you know, you sometimes the fun element goes for a moment and you don't feel like you're making that impact. But, you know, for the most part, it's still all right. But there is going to come a time where you run out and you have to stop. So, but, you know, not for a while.
Yeah. And for just as like it's whilst it's on topic, for anyone that actually is now thinking, yeah, that's not a lot of money, and I will support you, David. My Patreon link is in the description. Patreon is a place where you can actually contribute to the work of myself or to Ellie or to James. We all have them.
I don't
okay, well, James doesn't, but Ellie does.
I do.
But yeah,
I
do. So even if it's, I'll put it out like this. We'll move on. Even if it's not me, like if you don't want to like contribute to help. No, I hate the word help. If you don't want to contribute to my work, you know, and support my work, that's totally fine.
He's smelly. He's smelly.
Support Ellie. Support Ellie. If you don't want to support Ellie, that's totally fine. Support someone. If you're not currently contributing $1 a month to an activist, and you're in a full-time job and you're totally capable of doing that, I'm sorry, but come on. $1 a month. Come on, you can support someone, right? Like Ed, Joey, us here, anyone. Just like do it, because Don't do it for Ed and Joey. Actually, I take that back. They're already set. Do it for someone who you really, really like, who you think is doing good work, who doesn't get enough support. Doesn't have to be anyone here, but like choose someone. Do it, because it's nothing for you, but it's a lot for them. It really is.
And if anyone does want to support me, you can do it completely free. All I'll ask is, I'll put my link in the comments. Please just like subscribe to my channel, comment on a video, like a video. It would make such a difference, because I'm putting hours and hours and hours of backbreaking work into making videos at the minute, and like a few hundred people are seeing them, and it's kind of sad.
It sucks, doesn't it?
Oh, dude, that's the start, man. That is the start. You gotta suck it up. Suck it up, bro.
I'm 6 years into it, and it still is the case. Like, but the brilliant thing about humans is we fail and try again, and fail and try again, and fail.
It's not a fail. It's not a fail.
It does feel like that sometimes. It's not necessarily, because obviously you look at it and you think, well, people have seen this, so it's good. Or it's someone says, this has made my day. That is you think, oh, this, you know. But obviously, some people get at you for it. But I don't think it's a bad thing to have a certain level of input and then hope or expect a certain output from it. Because obviously you put a lot of work in. You there are metrics of outcome that make something more successful, and views is one of those metrics on YouTube. But yeah, there's other stuff to it, definitely. You know, that people are happy or impacted.
But, self-deprecation aside, like my last video that I put out was epic, and my next one is, I mean, it was a bit long. I didn't edit it short enough. It was a bit long, but my next video that's coming out in the following week, I swear, absolute fire. I genuinely believe it's the future of vegan outreach. Like, it's going to be. I'm going to hype it up. I'm going to put a lot of pressure on myself and just say it's going to be fire. Like, subscribe to me if you are going to like this video when it comes out in a week or two time.
I've just subscribed. I found it.
Oh wow! Look at that. That's instant gratification there, man. Let me tell you something, dude. Like, from my experience with this, the more you big something up, the more people won't click it just to spite you. That's what I've learned over the years, man. I used to be like, fuck yeah, guys, this video is like the best. You need to check it out. And then people would just be like, nah. I get no likes or anything and be like, nah. And then these days I'm like, yeah, you should watch this. It's kind of cool. You should watch this. It's kind of cool. And people will be like, oh yeah, I should probably watch that then. Or do you know what? Let me tell you a tip right now. Both of you might like this, right? There is a trick to Instagram swipe ups, right? You know, stories. Like, there's a trick to it. If you want people, can you both swipe up right now? Everyone can do it now, right? Oh shit! It's only for like
10,000 followers, I think.
I thought they opened it for everyone.
I haven't got it.
Okay, well, I guess for when that happens, which it will happen, or basically if you're ever trying to like promote something and you can get away with doing it like this, the best thing to do is to not actually say what it is that they're clicking onto. Like, for example, if it's like, if you can hide the link, like on Instagram stories, you can hide the link, right? So they don't know what they're clicking. So when you're just saying like, hey, I've got the, you know, do you agree with this comment? Yes or no? And then the next slide is a swipe up. They don't know what it is. And most people will swipe up and then they'll watch it. But if you actually say, check out my YouTube video, no one fucking swipes up, right? Because they know what it is and there's no surprise, there's no mystery.
It's the FOMO.
It is the FOMO. It is the FOMO. And some people watching are going to know that I do that a lot. You're going to know why I do it now. And you're going to like, oh, I'm not going to swipe up anymore. You little shit. Trash Carcass did another super chat. Thank you again.
I can't believe
Sure name, but I loved it.
I'm being desecrated and I'm not even being paid for it. That's unbelievable.
Yep, Phlegmface was a really bad name. I'm sorry, I have to agree here. That was Ellie's old name, by the way, for the YouTube channel.
It was
and the Instagram.
It's just because it was like my nickname, because my Ramms, my surname's Fleming, so it became the nickname, and I just resonated with it, and everyone would call me.
At least someone did.
Yeah, but there are some people who are like, I really miss that name. I wish you had it back. But for the most part, I think the name change was positive. Now I get people just copied Vegan Gains, and I'm like, look, just read.
Right.
Like, you will see I have not.
You know Hudson Tarlow, right? You were on with him, right? Yeah. Obviously, yeah. You came on here. He was supposed to be here today, but
I wasn't on with him. I was.
Okay.
Yeah, but
okay, sure.
Yeah.
Well, I told him, I was like, yeah, the live streams are going good, and we were talking about it, and I said, yeah, he said, who have you had on? I said, well, I had John Venus on, I had my friend James on, I had Vegan Gaze, Vegan Gaze. He was like, yeah, oh my God, you had Vegan Gaze on? Oh my God. And I was like, wait a minute, he's definitely heard Vegan Gains here. I was like, I'm sorry, Elliot. I was like, I didn't mean Richard like Vegan Gains, you know that, right? And he was like, what, dude, what are you talking about? I don't understand. And I was like, oh, I thought he seemed so excited. And I was like, wow, Ellie, you must really like Ellie. You must really.
Yeah, it must have been. I've only been Vegan Gaze for 4 months now, I think. So
okay,
but
I like it. It's a good name, but it is a little bit confusing when you say it quickly.
It is a bit, yeah. You have to enunciate. You have to enunciate.
Absolutely. Yeah, but I thought he seemed really pumped, and I was like, oh, this is nice. Like, he seems, and I'm sorry to like, yeah, I was disappointed too, like as much as you are now. Like, well, oh, great. I was like, that's pretty.
Who's that? Oh, yeah. No.
Yeah.
One day.
Oh, by the way, the upset individual is still here. Should I time them out again, or should we actually handle it before we move on? Is your vote again?
I leave it up to you now. I did the maternal thing, put them in timeout, and they still want to.
All right. Well, they came back.
I would like to ask that person why they hold the view that you are that person they claim you are, David.
All right. Let's deal with this then, shall we? Let's handle this. So this individual. Let's find the earlier comment and let's put them. Oh no, I can't. No, this is gone.
Is this because of Sadhguru? Because you?
Yes, it's because of Sadhguru. Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. All right, here we go. This individual is getting upset. I'll maybe just give them one little 5 minutes of fame, and then we'll just leave it. All right. So they're saying that they hope Ellie, Vegan Gaze, isn't a racist like me, who never responded to my questions in other threads. So yeah, first of all, me being or not being a racist isn't determined by me and answering or not answering your stupid fucking questions. First of all, okay? Let's deal with that. Second of all, no, I'm not a fucking racist. No, I don't hate Asians. You fucking moron. All right? You've said that in earlier on. You said I hate Asians. I fucking lived in Asia for about 12 months in total, right? Why would I live somewhere with people that I hate? Yeah? I worked with Indians, I worked with Sri Lankans, I worked with Thai people, I worked with, I basically that's pretty much it, I think. Whatever, right? Worked with activists in all those countries, did activism with individuals from those countries and from other countries, did video interviews with people from those countries. If you want to find all of my video interviews and all the work that I did, go to Animal Safe Movement's YouTube and you can find it all there. And that's pretty much it. So that just to handle that. And Zen Weaver, if you want to continue with your silly nonsense, you go ahead. But I recommend you actually. Oh yeah, and also one more thing. I made a fucking video about how veganism is in India, where I talked about Indian people for the entire video and all the awesome awesome work that I got to do and all the awesome experiences I got to have with Indian people. So explain how any of this means that I hate Asian people. So let's just close off this here now. I shouldn't have even taken this long to deal with it, but I've dealt with it now.
So if that was me, I'd be inviting this Zen Weaver guy to jump on the live stream now.
Oh, he can jump on the live stream. It's just, I get so sick of people coming out with this shit, especially people who get upset. And it is about Sadhguru, obviously, but normally it's not even from Sadhguru fans. Normally this shit is coming from like people who just heard it from someone else, right? They just like hear about some white guy who has said some controversial shit in his videos, so therefore he must be a racist, and they just come out and say stupid shit, you know. Okay, so I'm just gonna block that person anyway. They're just being a fucking moron. Yeah, I'm just gonna block them because they're just not listening. They just apparently said I was lying. I'm actually a racist. I've been a racist the entire time I was working in India and the entire time I was in Asia. All this time I've just been bullshitting, James. I've been hiding it really well.
Let's go and expose David Ramms.
Yeah, right. God. Anyway, yeah.
I think context and try to cancel you now.
Exactly. I think Ellie was right. I think I should have just ignored that person because now I'm just a little bit pissed off.
Yeah, I just put them in the naughty corner.
Yeah, I just blocked
put them in the naughty
them.
corner.
I just blocked them.
Think about what they've done. Yeah.
Yeah, I just blocked them.
But, see, for me, I'm the sort of person I normally like charge headlong into those confrontations, but kind of kill them with kindness. It's like I love talking to farmers when I'm doing like outreach and things like that. I love talking to people who work in the industries that exploit animals. They're my favorite conversations. So.
Totally, man. No, I mean, if you're going to come here and call me like, I don't know, if you came here and called me something silly or like made fun of me, I'll laugh with you all day. I've got no problem with that if you want to come here and have some fun with me and like, you know, make fun of me for being vegan. Even if you're an anti-vegan, I'm totally cool with that. But if you're going to come on here and say that I hate Asian people and that I'm a racist and that you hope my other guests aren't racist, and just this, I'm not going to joke about that because like I said, like it's being called a racist in 2020 is like being called a pedophile, right? It really is. It's that bad. It is that bad to be called that. So I'm not going to take it lightly. And like people, you know, people ask, there's another question people ask nowadays. It's like, well, how do you know you're not a racist? Well, that's for the same reason I know I'm not a fucking pedophile. I'm not a racist. You know what I mean? It's that simple. You know who you are. You know what you believe, and you know the emotions that you have towards other people. That's in the same way that I'm not sexually attracted to children. I don't have irrational hatred for people of other ethnicities. Like I know this about myself. It's not like rocket science. You know what I mean? So for someone to come up here and
what we said earlier, we are now.
Well, yeah, fucking hell, man. I'm definitely demonetized now. But you get my point, though. It's just like I don't know. I probably should have just blocked them and moved on, but I felt like that maybe was like retreating from it. But
yeah, it is annoying because they're trying to take the control from you in that way when they're trying to assert something about you that you know not to be true. Like it could be anything. If someone comes along, they don't know you, and they trying to assert themselves about you or a situation you were involved in, something that affects you, then it just feels like they're just trying to take control from you. So, I mean, I don't think it matters either way, even if you are pissed off. Like, yeah, that's fine. I that's the thing. It's like, if you know it not to be true, that's the case. And if you want to like back yourself up and explain yourself, I don't see that you should regret that, really. I think the more regrettable thing would be to be that thing. So
yeah,
well said.
Definitely. No, you're right. You're right. And I guess people don't subscribe to me because I keep things to myself. So I guess I'm just doing what people subscribe for, right?
I love whacking the trolls. Like there was a guy who came in to my live stream the other day and was like, I could destroy any vegan. So I was like, all right, debate me then. And he came on and it was hilarious. There was like a monkey plane throwing meme and everything. He was like, we need to do vivisection because we throw monkeys out of planes to see how splat they go. And I was just like, so
sounds like a real educated, really interesting person. Gives some really strong points.
Brilliant. Oh yeah, it was brilliant.
Totally. I had something to say just now. Something about hold up. This is a good comment to put up. Demonetized. We need more super chat now. 100% agree. Considering this video has now been demonetized, you guys, I would really appreciate that, and we'll do your topics as well. So let's
smash that like button.
Smash that like button. Hit that shit. All right, so let's do a topic, huh? 2 hours 15 minutes. We've done one topic that was planned, and that's it. Unless somebody wants to super chat and tell us what to do, I have a topic, and it is about plant-based celebrities, but it's not the standard stuff that you're thinking. It's something different. All right. So in my 5-Minute Friday, I kind of had a problem with Ariana Grande, I kind of had a problem with her. Not only with her, but I had a problem with all these vegan news publications like bigging her up for opening a sanctuary. Have you heard about this? The sanctuary that she's opened.
Yeah, is it for cats and dogs? Mm-hmm. Or?
Yeah. Long story short, yeah, she opened the sanctuary for cats and dogs. That's pretty much it. Over in the USA. Sorry. And she has been people celebrating her and stuff like that, and the vegans sharing the article, and they're all super oh my god, yeah, she's here for the animals, but she's not a vegan. She's a plant-based dieter, and she's promoted a non-vegan drink at Starbucks last year. She's been known to she did something I don't know, she licked or ate something non-vegan in a music video. I think licked a non-vegan donut, something like that. So she's definitely not in this for ethical reasons, but she obviously has millions of followers. The question I'm posing here is, okay, is there an argument to say that these plant-based dieter super celebrities like Ariana Grande, is there argument to say that they actually have a significantly higher impact than an ethically vegan individual such as Earthling Ed? Because Earthling Ed has what, 500,000, 400,000 subs total, maybe just under 1 million if you include everything that he's working on. Ariana Grande has what? How many is it? Do you have any idea on her Instagram? I actually don't. Let's have a look.
10 million followers or something like that. So
how many? Sorry,
I think it's 10 million.
So my point is that her doing something like that and talking about the plant-based 207 million.
Oh my god,
207 million.
Oh, okay, I was way off. I don't know who I'm thinking about.
My god, let me just pull that up. That is insane. I'm not making that up. So 207 million she has, right? There it is. So is there an argument to be had that, okay, she's not vegan, but she's talking about animals and she's eating plant-based and she's opening a sanctuary. I ripped into us pushing her, right? As in celebrating her and saying we shouldn't really do that. But maybe, am I being too ideological here? Is there actually an argument to say we should push someone like her because she has 207 million followers and she can reach more people, even though she's not actually eating a plant-based diet because she's ethical?
I think if you segment it down into elements of the kind of journey, trademark, that people go through when they're, from non-vegan to vegan, then actually there could be a case for it, because I'd argue the most difficult component of that journey is when someone is facing that cognitive dissonance and isn't ready to take off their blinders. So when someone like Ariana Grande, celebrities that people love, they look up to, they're in this really good position where they can really influence people. in a way that isn't so much the same as someone like an animal advocate can do. Like you can influence someone by emotionally appealing to, you know, something and talking about how something's horrible, and that influences. But the influence that a celebrity can give is very like emotive. It's got nothing really to do with whether or not something's harmful or whether or not something's important. So they've got this position where they can say anything really and get someone on board, which is one of the most difficult things that, you know, a random animal advocate or even a popular animal advocate would be able to do. So I think they are more important in the sense of the first stage, but I think the animal activists and all that are really important at the stage afterwards of like, okay, well, here's about the topic of actually granting them value. Here is why you don't go back. Here is why one burger a day isn't like good enough and stuff like that. That's when they come in. But I do think that for the cognitive dissonance aspect, celebrities can be really important, because if you've got a celebrity saying, no, this is wrong, this is disgusting, I think people are more likely to listen.
Yeah, and from if I can look at it from a different perspective, so you know that I'm doing like a master's degree in basically behavior analysis. And this is something that I'm really passionate about, I'm really interested in. And it sucks that so much of the research on that has been done on like testing on animals in the past and like really unethical stuff. But what it's told me, and this is not just my opinion, this is fact. If anyone wants a source, I will send you scientific studies, meta-analysis, all sorts of things. That the way human psychology works is like shame and punishment and these kind of emotions are not powerful at promoting, like inspiring behavior change. Like positive reinforcement and praise are much more powerful. Maybe not in the short term, but in the long term, they're a lot more powerful. So when people donate to charity or do something good or promote veganism on TikTok or Twitter or whatever, like we absolutely should be praising that, because it's so much more powerful for inspiring behavior change than punishing people who do exploit animals or whatever. Like people are going to see that person getting lots of recognition and praise and think, yeah, I want me a piece of that. Right. So if we're wanting to inspire behavior change, if we're wanting to make the world become a more vegan place, we should be praising people who take those steps towards it. And, you know, pulling someone down who is just like, they're just doing it to look good, or they're just doing it because it's a trend or whatever. Like, yeah, that's probably the right thing to do. But is it effective? Is it effective? And it's not, unless, I know what your next point's going to be. Your next point's going to be, what if that person then, like a year from now, ends up on Joe Rogan saying, oh, you know, I got brain fog, so now I need to eat fish. That's going to do a lot of harm, right? So if that happens, then yeah, I probably agree with you. If not, we absolutely should be like celebrating when people do good things.
Okay, that's interesting. I want to just ask a question on this, because this is you've got your evidence and your data, and I've got not to hand, obviously, well, maybe we can talk about this, but from my experience and from my knowledge, it's conflicting, because of course positive reinforcement is important to reinforce like positive behavior changes, right? Like for example, learning a new language, right? My Duolingo positively reinforces me because it sends me an email. David, you've done so well this week. Like, why don't you do today's thing? And I'm like, oh, thanks, Duolingo. Okay, I'll do today's lesson then, right? It makes me feel good. That's an example of positive reinforcement, and then it rewards you. It says, well done, you've done your day. Like, same with meditation and stuff like that. But the going vegan, not doing this for the animals, it's not necessarily a positive thing. For most people, they don't see it as a positive thing. They see it as something that is actually a massive burden on them, right? So for me, the way I see it, and you know, from what I've studied, is that for someone to make such a drastic, it's not behavior change, it is like a fundamental life change. Like, for example, for someone to uproot their entire life, for example, and move across the world if they hate traveling, positive reinforcement isn't going to cut it, right? It's going to need to be like, someone in that other country has died and they need you, and that's why you're doing it. It's negativity that would drive someone to make such a drastic uprooting life change. And that's why with myself, like, I don't actually focus on positive reinforcement unless the person is already has already changed, right? Then it's like, oh, great, let's move forward then. And if there's a mistake made, then I'm all about positive reinforcement. But to have someone go from non-vegan to vegan, I believe it takes an incredible amount of negativity, in my opinion, because they need to feel so fucking bad about what they're paying for that they just can't do it anymore. And I don't mean that me saying you are a piece of shit. I mean, as in like us pointing out, look at this. Like, think about this. Make that connection so that you never, ever want to contribute to that ever again. I feel like it's actually extremely negative. And I feel like extreme negativity is what forces someone to make a dramatic life change like that. And then positive reinforcement, I'll agree with you here, is what keeps somebody on the track the majority of the time. But also the thought of what made them change keeps them on the track. And that was usually something extremely negative, like Earthlings, right? You know what I mean? So I feel like I feel like when now I'm speaking a bit more about it, I feel like I do agree with you, but like I feel like it's not clearly black and white. Like it's at certain points of someone's journey. It's at certain points in someone's life that these things are going to make more sense to do, like either positive or negative. It depends on where the person's at,
Yeah, although what you're describing in terms of something really bad happening, whether that's, like you say, someone's died so you got to go around the world, or whether let's apply it to veganism, you've watched a horrible video that shook you to your core and it's really upset you. That's not punishment. That's not the opposite of like reinforcement that I'm talking about. That's like an aversive stimulus that's being presented to you that's making you realize there's a problem. Like, the punishment or the reinforcement is what happens after they make a decision. So that decision is like, do I go vegan? Do I promote veganism on TikTok or Twitter? Do I don't know, open a sanctuary? And it's what happens after that is going to make the likelihood of them doing that thing again in future more or less likely. So if it gets punished or if it gets rewarded. I don't know if I explained that very well.
I think I'm following you. I get you.
Bringing it back a step, we're talking about like whether it's right or whether it's effective. And when Lewis Hamilton shared videos on his Twitter to his millions of, 20, 30, whatever million followers he's got on there, he shared a video of like a PETA video, I think, of a cow in, maybe India or somewhere in Asia, a cow literally having its head bashed in with a sledgehammer, like being slaughtered. And
it's in India. Oh no, sorry, continue.
And people were giving him shit because of the fact that like he drives cars and the impact on the environment, or maybe there's some non-vegan components of the car, so therefore he's a piece of shit. And like, what they're saying, like they might be saying like, oh, you're not as ethical as me because you do this thing which is not very ethical. But what they really do is telling him that he's a piece of shit for doing a good thing. And this is like, we see this a lot in society. If people post on Facebook that, oh, I've just donated £200 to a homeless shelter, people are thinking, oh, they've only done that to like, so people think they're a good guy. They've only done it to get like praise, or so people think they're a good person.
Right.
That's implying that there's like a wrong reason to do the right thing. And like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But actually what the studies have shown, that when people talk about donating to charity, it makes the people around them also more likely to donate to charity. Like,
they feel guilty.
Whether they feel guilty or whether they think that it just makes them aware that they've got an option, they can do a good thing. I don't know what the psychology
makes them feel guilty, man.
Maybe it does.
This is my point. I guess my takeaway point is that like negativity is just so much more powerful than positivity, in my opinion. It really, from personal experience.
That's why media uses it, so they can sell, like what we were talking about earlier. Like, negativity drives fear and panic. Fear and panic means people pay attention, and that's how they can sell papers and all of that. Like,
sorry, I'm talking
even if they're flat out lying.
In the short term, in terms of getting attention, like absolutely, negativity is so powerful. But in terms of inspiring behavior change in that person in the future, moving on, like so many scientific studies have shown that it's not as effective. Like shame
Well,
is not a powerful motivator. Like, I don't know.
I think I get what you're getting at here, because when I make a video and I'm like, hey, like, you know, don't be a piece of shit and go vegan. I don't, if they messaged me after that saying like, hey, like, I'm pissed off with you, but I want to go vegan, I wouldn't be like, yeah, you fucking better go vegan, because if you don't, you suck and blah. You know, no, like, I think what you've just said is important. My tactic, which I feel like is compatible with what you're saying, and it is, because it's what I do. I use the negativity, and I use the shock value of, you know, what I'm saying, because what I'm saying is not incorrect. It's just not many people say it in such a blunt way like I do, right? So I say it bluntly. People get pissed off, they get upset, they start commenting and get into a discussion, and then either me or another vegan comes in and is like nice, compassionate, and like shows them what to do. And there you go. That's it's that simple. It's that easy. But let me tell you what won't cut through the bullshit. Let me tell you what won't work. If you're just like super, you know, compassionate and loving and kind, and you're just like, these are the beautiful reasons we should go vegan. People, like, it doesn't, first of all, nobody will probably ever see it, the video, or the post, or they'll probably glance over it, or they'll watch the first 10 seconds, because it's not interesting. And it's a sad world that we live in, where people just aren't interested in something that's like, you know, they're more interested in the like something that's shocking, and they'll stick with it. Whereas like a beautiful video about a sanctuary will hold you for 30 seconds to a minute, but that's all you're going to get. Even me, you know, us as vegans, be honest with me. If there's a 10-minute video about a sanctuary and the beautiful animals, you last what, a minute and a half before you're like, all right, I've seen enough beautiful animals for the day. But if that video was some dramatic shit where someone's like giving you 10 reasons why you're a piece of shit if you don't go vegan, like, most people are going to be angry, and they'll watch it because they're angry. They'll watch all the way through because they're like, oh, this person's making me so angry. But that's good, because it's an emotional response that's going to lead to some questions, right? Oh, fuck you in the comments, like, blah, blah, blah. Then a vegan will come back like, oh, why are you so angry? Well, this person's an asshole. Well, maybe they're an asshole, yeah, but like, you know, what do you think about what they said? And then it goes on, you know? That's what I'm trying to get at here. I feel like what we're discussing, they're both compatible, is what I'm saying. It's compatible.
We're actually agreeing, but you don't think
yeah.
It's a very common misconception about reinforcement as being like, it means you've got to be nice all the time, and it's not. Reinforcement or punishment is only the concept of what happens after the behavior. So let's say the behavior is sharing something, or going vegan, or trying a vegan meal, or so plant-based meal, whatever. Like, you're reinforcing or punishing that based on the way you respond to it after they do the behavior. How you go about trying to influence it is not whether you're reinforcing them or not. Your horrible, like your video that's highlighting a problem, that's saying like, you're a piece of shit unless you go vegan, and this is why. That's you putting someone in a situation where they're confronted with aversive stimulus, which then they've got to make a decision. Do I want to continue being a piece of shit, or do I want to change my behavior? So we actually agree on that. It just didn't sound like we did initially.
I get you. I get you. I feel you. Yeah. Just a quick side note. I believe Ellie is off. Are you going now? Or are you going?
I do kind of need to go. Yeah. So.
All right. That's cool. That's cool.
Thank you very much for having me.
Sure.
Yeah,
all right.
nice
Cool. Thanks so much for joining. It's been really good to have you on. And yeah, for anyone that doesn't already, go follow, subscribe, like, comment, Patreon.
You'll love it. No regrets.
Whatever else. Whatever else.
Yeah.
Just do everything.
I'll be in the chat. I'll be in the chat. I just haven't
guys.
eaten
I'm going
yet
to
today.
subscribe to Vegan Gaze right now. Let's all go and do it.
Yes.
Oh.
I love that.
You know what? You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna join in. I'm gonna unsubscribe, and then I'm gonna resubscribe. There you go. I'm doing it right now. Are you ready for this?
Oh, delicious. Thank you.
Here we go. Let's get this up.
I can feel it.
Here we go. I gotta get the screen up. Yeah, I'm building this. Here we go. Screen's on. All right.
Already.
Subscribe.
Oh.
Well, subscribe. Notifications on.
Oh, love that.
Look at that.
Lovely. Oh.
How good did that feel?
That was delicious. That's
what everyone else has to do. Please.
Thank you. Yes, notification. Yes, thank you. But yeah, I've subscribed to Wholesome James as well. Like, have you? Can you subscribe and unsubscribe from Wholesome James?
You'd have to
all right, hold up.
You got to do it now.
Here we go.
There we go,
All right,
everyone. There we go.
I don't actually think I'm subscribed. This is going to be really embarrassing.
What?
I mean, I don't know if I am or not. No, I'm joking. Of course I am. Unsubscribe.
Get them notifications
Okay,
on.
we're going to go subbed again. Notifications
Oh,
on.
Look
There
at
you go.
that.
That's what you got to do.
Gorgeous. Oh, delicious.
Look at that top video. It is. Look at him.
Oh, there he is.
Vegan's going
There's
to pay
that
you in
wholesome man.
cupcakes.
Look at that.
It is. Yeah. There you go.
You really are
How
wholesome.
exciting.
You're talking about cupcakes. That's lovely. But yeah, I'll see you guys later.
All right. See you in a bit.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. All right. So it's just the two of us now. We've got to make a decision. We're 2 hours and 35 minutes in. I put a load of topics up in my Instagram story, but we've only really done 2 of them. But that's totally fine because it's what it is. What it is. It's your call as to would you like to continue? Would you like to make a suggestion? Do you want to continue with some topics, or how many topics would you like to do, if any? What are you feeling?
What are the topics you've got left?
All right, let's put it also out to people who are watching.
Yeah.
If you're quick on this, we'll listen. So we've got one of the topics was Tyson, about Tyson. The massive company, and they're doing a massive expansion, which is pretty insane. And I think I find it to be, it's important that we discuss this because we need to discuss like how the fuck this is possible, what's going on. We don't talk about lab meat. That was a topic, lab meat. I wanted to talk about some article about vegans need to stop being morally pure. So that was interesting.
Oh, let's look at that.
Whip into that. Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right, then let's look into this then. A little bit of anti-vegan bullshit. Everyone loves some anti-vegan bullshit, right? Let's do this then. Let's go for it. Let's close on this. Let's do this anti-vegan bullshit, and we'll close here. So here we go. This is an article by The Peak. It's a student's newspaper. Mainstream veganism needs to focus on equity over moral outrage. Now, this is a funny one because this is by someone, I don't know, Meera Aragota, Sri Lankan, I guess, girl. I don't know if Meera is a girl's name. But this individual was eating a mainly vegetarian diet until they were 17. And then from Sri Lanka, and I still eat largely vegetarian. So let's just be clear here. This person's not vegan. And
I still exploit animals.
I'm still exploiting animals. Yeah, I'm still exploiting animals. Not even a vegetarian. Not that it matters if she was a vegetarian, but yeah, still exploiting animals. And I still eat largely vegetarian because the commercial meat industry remains incredibly exploitative towards animals and the environment. As if the non-commercial meat industry is not exploitative. Like, what? But anyway, it goes on. Basically, this person's saying, I don't support the mainstream vegan movement. It's rife with purity politics, racism, classism, and elitism. Now, there's this thing that seems to keep coming up, right? I don't understand where this concept keeps coming from. That it's usually from people like this, or even sometimes vegans. They get it in their head that veganism has this big racism problem. Like, I'm sorry, but like, where the fuck is this? Like, yes, there are racist vegans. I know they exist, but like, it's the way they say it is like it's some kind of epidemic of the movement. Like, it's just full of racism. Like, point it out to me. Point out one fucking racist vegan who hasn't been called out and dealt with, right? Because this movement deals with this shit. So when it comes up, right? The same as the feminist women's rights movement deals with that shit. The same as, most movements will handle people that are acting in horrible ways, like if they're racist. So I don't get where this keeps coming from. I you know what I mean? Like, where is this idea coming from that it's just rife with racism?
My knowledge on this is not great, but I think 2 areas. So
go ahead.
The first one I think is that stereotype. The stereotype of the white guy with a man bun who's a bit of a hippie and wears like hippie pants and like kind of pretentious hippie vibe. That's how some people see veganism, and it's a white guy, and
right.
This term of like white veganism.
Sure.
I don't know if some of it stems from that stereotype, but
Maybe.
I think also people that hint towards the fact that the production of many like stereotypical vegan foods like soy and avocados and certain kinds of vegetables can be very exploitative, and it comes from, you know, they can be very exploitative towards people of color because of the way that they're farmed in certain countries, where you get entire like slum cities based around growing salad and things like that. And
but dude, but that's not racism though. That's not racism. That's a completely separate topic. Racism is you know, judging someone or discriminating someone based on their ethnicity. This has got nothing to do with it. But I agree with you, like that's a problem, but this is not, you know, the presence of racism. Of course there's racism within the vegans, there's racism within, as I said, feminism, there's racism within pick a group of people, there's going to be racists, right? But my point is, anyway, there's this concept that it's rife in veganism. I just don't get. And classism and elitism, which is what you've just mentioned there, because yeah, in some aspects there are very poor, very exploited people who are providing plant-based products to the world. But that's not just the vegans. That again, that is a global issue. That's an issue with vegans, with non-vegans, with everyone basically who is buying food from a supermarket, right? And it says like there are vegans whose veganism is, oh yeah, and by the way, sorry, just the racism thing. I think also they seem to think that it's racist to talk about human slavery when we talk about the animals. They seem to think that's racist when that's a fucking ridiculous thing to say, because human slavery has been around for thousands of years, way before the Atlantic slave trade. So, you know, I personally will talk about human slavery, but just to say fuck you to these people, I'll talk about the Egyptian slavery or Roman slavery, because it's still fucking slavery. Do you know what I mean? Like I've stopped referring to the Atlantic slave trade because of the problems it brings up. When I talk about and compare human slavery to non-human slavery, I talk about, you know, Rome and Egypt, because it's just as disgusting and abhorrent as any other human slavery that's ever existed. And that's not racist. It's not racist to talk about that, but that's also something that I think this person would say is. But anyway, they say there are vegan.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Say, like, I agree that I don't think mainstream veganism is rife with like racism and things like that. That's just from my own experience. I've not seen any of that. And some people are going to say like, hey, look, there's two white guys saying that veganism's not racist. Like, do you know what I mean? People are going to make those comments. They definitely will. So I'm just going to put it out there that I class myself as being like extremely like anti-racist, like in all aspects, whether it's at work. I try to address my own unconscious biases, my own internal biases. I try to actively work to reduce barriers to, whether it's if I'm a hiring manager and I'm recruiting people, I'll try to actively work to reduce barriers for people with disabilities or, you know, people of color or whatever those barriers are. I'll try to identify and reduce them. I will call out racism. I will not accept it, and I'll work to prevent it. But
I'm laughing. I'm not laughing at what you're saying. I'm laughing because you're like, you know, dude, you're gonna get cancelled no matter what you say. So like, I get that you're making a good point here, and I do appreciate these things about you, but it doesn't matter that you say these things. You need to realize that. And you know what the old other thing is though, James, right? This is really important. What really sucks, in my opinion, is that you felt the need to say all of that, as if somebody would assume that you didn't believe in those things, as if somebody would assume the negativity, like someone would assume ill intent from you, right? Like I've given up saying these things now, because it's like, if someone's already assuming that I am the opposite of that, well, fuck them. Like, I don't need people like that around me. If someone watches this video and they assume that I am none of those things that you've just said, like I don't do any of that shit, that's their problem. I don't need to tell them that I do it. Like that's, you know, they want to assume that I am a, you know, horrible person that doesn't consider these things and that is a racist. Then well, that's their problem. But you know, your behavior, nothing you have said or done has contributed to anyone, in my opinion, shouldn't contribute to anyone having that view of you. You've shared an opinion, and that doesn't make you a monster. And you shouldn't have to then go and tell the world how the reasons you're not a monster. It's bullshit. You know, you're allowed to share your opinion without trying to justify yourself as a person and you know, try and make out. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like I hate this world, man, where we feel like we have to follow up any statement with a fucking disclaimer. Like, by the way, I'm not a racist because of this, this, and this, and this, and this. It's like,
yeah, it wasn't really meant as a disclaimer. It was more meant.
It felt like one.
It probably, yeah. It was more meant as a, you know, if you got some white guy here acting as an expert on racism by saying it doesn't exist, that would appear problematic to a lot of people. And I'm just saying, before sharing my opinion, that I don't think, I've not experienced it myself. It seems like a good way to kind of share my own personal beliefs on that. But at the same time, it's the same reason why I'll try not to engage publicly in discussions about some of these very controversial issues, whether it's, are you pro-life or pro-choice? You know, how many times do we see that the loudest voices on those issues are men when it's like an issue for women? And I really don't want to get into that discussion now, but
no, I don't want to get into that discussion.
Comparison. Why quite often the loudest voices saying that, you know, racism's not a problem. The loudest voices are often white guys.
I think the point, but that's not your problem. Like, if the loudest, you know what I'm saying? Like, but my point, I guess what I'm trying to say is that, like, this concept of you're not allowed to say anything about that because of what you look like and because you have a penis, it's brand new and it's bullshit. Like, you're on a live stream with me and you are allowed to we're here to share our views and opinions. You are not limited by your gender identity, your sex, your orientation, your ethnicity, wherever you were born, the language you speak. You are not limited by any of those things on this live stream. All right? Like, I don't give a shit what society says. Here, none of these things are a limitation to you whatsoever. If you say something that's bullshit, if you say something that's offensive, so fucking be it. As long as it's not like, you know, we're not crossing any lines here, right? I know that you're not a horrible person, or I wouldn't invite you here. Like, I wouldn't, if I was going to have someone on here and I knew they were actually, or imagine I invite somebody on, right, and they turn out to be a racist, I'm not going to let it slide, right? But you're allowed to comment on things. You're allowed to share opinions, dude, like rational opinions, and your opinions on topics that are controversial without being limited by the identity you happen to have been born with. Like, that's bullshit. It's a brand new thing. It's a brand new narrative, and it is bullshit. The idea that you can't share opinions because of where you were born or the body you were born into. That's regressive politics, not progressive. That's like going back to the 1950s where it's like, you're a woman, you can't speak here. You can't make a comment on this. You're a woman. You don't even get to vote. That's what they're trying to do to you. You're a white man. You don't get to speak here. You don't get a vote. It's like, it's regressive, dude. It's fucking regressive.
That's not the point I'm making. I'm not saying that we should be silent on it. I'm saying that, you know, there's other voices that we could elevate as well. Rather than cancelling white guys talking about racism, we could choose to involve people who have suffered that oppression. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, for sure. But I mean, I don't know, dude. We're in a live stream right now. I can't just, you know, I'm not going to put out an Instagram story like a question. Let's move on to
what the article's actually saying, shall we?
I mean, so just here go on, like, fucking ask around. Hey, does anyone want to join my live stream right now? But no white people are allowed. Only if you're a person of color.
I wasn't talking about this live stream. I was talking about,
I'm fucking with you.
You know, cancel culture is what I was talking about, really.
No, totally. I'm just fucking with you. And like, and look, you know, I want people on my live stream. Like, I every week I put out, like, I tell people like, this is open to everybody. So I hope more people will come on, and yeah, it would be good to get some different opinions, but it doesn't mean your opinion is invalid, like, because, you know, because of who you are. That's my point, right? The good thing is that this is like almost 3 hours in, so, you know, the risk of someone canceling you for this is quite slim. No one's going to spend 3 hours looking for something to get you for, man. So I think you'll be all right. Right. So let's get into this. So. It says all that crap about that, and then it's talking about people of color who've been eating plant-based diets for thousands of years, which I know, and if you didn't know that, James knows too. I'm 100% sure that is the truth. There are some communities around the world who've been eating mostly plant-based diets, but not vegan. All right, so let's be clear on that. Veganism is a relatively new concept, but the idea of not exploiting animals has been around for a long time. And like ahimsa, it's just there are very few places in the world that actually went all the way through and completely consistent on it. And now there are more. It's saying mainstream veganism constructs an idea of health as purity, which is completely bullshit. Talking about putting only clean foods in your body and deeming certain foods as unclean, implying that the people who eat them are somehow sullied. Mainstream veganism perpetuates the idea that only vegetables and plant-based food are pure or clean, and meat or meat products are dirty. Additionally, it seems to disavow certain types of vegetables if they're not organic, making it a very elitist stance on food. That is paragraphs of complete fucking bullshit. And let me tell you where this is coming from, right? So this person's from Sri Lanka, which is very close to India, and what she's just described here is something known as casteism. I don't know if there are any Indians here right now. I'm going to guess not because it's quite late, but there's casteism. So it's kind of like racism, but it's based on the caste you're born into, and the caste is kind of like your family name, basically. If you are low caste, historically in India, if you were born into a low caste, you would eat meat because meat is the dirty food. And if you were born into a high caste, you would eat vegetarian because vegetables are clean foods, right? So this person is conflating, in my opinion, the caste system of India, and I think they have it in Sri Lanka, but I'm not 100% sure. But the caste style system of India with the modern vegan movement. I don't know where the fuck they've got this idea. I'm going to assume it's coming from India, but this is completely separate, completely 100% separate. It's insane that somebody would be making this comment about mainstream veganism. I've never heard. Go ahead.
I don't understand why that's a problem. Even if most of what's being said there is true, I don't understand why it's a problem. So let me give you a different example. Okay. In most kind of society, smoking is seen as dirty because it causes harm to your body, to those around you. There's a victim involved. It's bad. It's got a cost to the, your National Health Service or to society as a whole. It causes cancer. All these things. It's seen as dirty. Yeah. Why is it any different? That when we know that meat and animal products causes cancers, has a victim, hurts the animals first and foremost.
Yeah,
we see all these facts where so much of the grain that's, the plants, so much of the food that we grow in third world countries is then shipped over to first world countries to feed our animals that we're fattening up to eat, and then people go hungry on the other side of the world. Like, it's not even a secret anymore. It's well out there. People know that animal products should be dirty. Like, I really hope that it becomes more dirty. I hope that more people see eating animal products in the coming years. I hope that people see eating animal products how we now see in most societies, how we now see people smoking. If I saw someone smoking indoors, if I'm sat in a restaurant and someone sat 2 tables away smoking, I would be disgusted. And I hope that that's how people see eating animal products like a year from now.
I get you. Yeah, I think when she draws this thing about organic, that's a problem though. Like saying that, like, oh, if they're not organic, they're also dirty, because then that's like, vegetable foods and plant-based foods can be accessible for the majority of people at a good price, right? But organic, that is elitist. If someone's saying like, oh, only organic food is clean and everything else is dirty, then they make a point, right? If the majority of vegans were saying that, but they're fucking not saying that. That's not a mainstream belief, right? That's not a mainstream opinion in veganism. That's like a very small little group of people who are obsessed with, organic and like, I don't know, obsessed with clean eating, basically, because veganism is not an obsession with clean eating at all. Vegans eat very badly. Like, most vegans I've met have not eaten healthily. Like, I've not met many vegans who actually eat in a good way. Like, I'm not one of them. I eat very badly. I'll be honest with you. Right now, I'm not doing very good with my diet. I'm not, I'm eating a lot of like, I'm eating a lot of like, I'm eating like vegetables and stuff, but it's not like, it's mostly like fried stuff or like, very heavy stuff, lots of processed stuff, like processed mock meats and stuff like that. So I'm not like starving myself or something, but I'm definitely not eating like a good, like healthy, plant-based, whole food, plant-based thing right now. And I feel like most vegans are also eating in pretty, just getting by kind of thing. So this is bullshit.
So educate me then. In India or places where this casteism is rife, which I'm not an expert on this. My knowledge is very limited. Is that a thing, to be like organic shaming people? Because I've never experienced that in my life. Like, you're not eating organic food, that's dirty.
No, that's nothing to do with. As far as I know, as far as people have explained to me, that's got nothing to do with the caste system of India, like at all.
So organic
it's basically
exist.
No, not that. I mean, it exists. It exists, but it exists. But I don't know if it exists in those circles.
Like really small fringe movement. I don't know. But
exactly.
Have you?
Well,
have you ever
no.
Someone actively organic shaming?
No, fuck no, man. It's so weird. But let's look. This it goes on, right? It says this idea of purity intersects with issues of class privilege. Foods that are labeled vegan or organic are actually more expensive. Conflating vegan and organic is fucking stupid again, because as I've just said, vegan and organic, it's completely separate things, right? Makes them unaffordable and accessible to both in and out of food deserts. All about those. It's always, why do food deserts always come up with these
talk about
people?
Food deserts, right?
Oh,
it's just a buzzword at the minute. If you talk about food deserts, then it means you care about people. That's what it comes down to on the internet.
Look at this shit. I cannot recall going into a grocery store and finding organic veggies that are cheaper than non-organic ones. Me neither, right? I'm fucking with you. That's nothing against veganism. That's nothing to do with vegans. Like, anyway, in addition, places that are designed to appeal to vegans, veggies, and supporters of clean eating, such as Whole Foods and farmers markets. So Whole Foods, so it's this person's in America then. So like, this is nothing to do with India. So I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Are themselves expensive, and in the case of the latter, designed for people who have time off on the weekends to visit them. All right. But that doesn't, even if these places are designed to appeal to vegans, that doesn't mean that vegans have to fucking go there. Like, what? What is this logic? The rebuttal to this is to avoid pre-made vegan foods and instead buy the individual products, which doesn't factor in that not everyone has the time to prepare a nutrition-filled meal without meat. Wait, they've got time to prepare a meal with meat, but they don't have time to prepare one without. Can you give me the logic on that? Like, how does that make any fucking sense? Cooking meat is often faster and cheaper than sourcing together and preparing non-GMO goods for a vegan meal. What? What is it? What does GMO have to do with anything? I'm sorry, I've not read this like in detail. I skimmed it. This is insane.
It's just making me angry that this person's just full of shit and hasn't cited anything really. I don't know what those links go to, but like,
this one is like, it's incredible. It's fucking incredible. Like, what is the quick? Like, give me right now the quickest meal, the quickest nutritious meal that you can make right now. What is it? If you were going to go and put something together that was quick and nutritious, what would it be?
I don't know, some rice, legumes, pasta, vegetables.
How long would it take?
Minutes. I'd throw it all in a pan and boil it, or stir fry it, put it in a wrap or whatever. Minutes.
Exactly. Insane, man. Insane. Like, for me, I would. Here's what I would do. Let me think about it. Right. I'd get some beans. Right. I get a wrap. Yeah. Get a tortilla wrap. Get some beans. Throw some vegetables in with it. And then just eat it straight up like that. And like, yeah, okay. Some places don't have the beans ready to go. That's fair. So what would an alternative be to beans? Everywhere has the lentils, and lentils take what, 15 minutes? 10-15 minutes, something like that, to like boil some lentils off. So we put them in instead. Done. 15-20 minutes max. Done. So how is it so much more time consuming to cook lentils than it is to cook fucking animal flesh? Insane. Okay.
But these people,
here we go.
They don't just eat meat on its own that they've fried for 2 or 3 minutes. They eat it with vegetables or potatoes or pasta or legumes. Or...
Insane. And then, look, we're on to the racism now. Here we go. The racism present in mainstream veganism, this is racism apparently. Right? Here we go. It ignores the cultural ties people have to meat. That's not racism. There are indigenous communities in Canada that still consume meat sustainably and are also active in conservation. Not to mention that often communities... Yeah, I know. Communities of color are the ones who rely on cheaply produced meat to survive. Veganism that dismisses other ways of being without understanding that colonialism is responsible for animal exploitation and environmental damage is an incomplete veganism. So listen, none of this is racism, right? Racism is, look at this. Mainstream veganism can be unwelcoming toward vegans of color and fat vegans. The image of a vegan that is constantly sold to us is a white, able-bodied, thin one. This exclusion is on top of the fact that vegan food can be incredibly appropriative when it sources and profits from other cultures. None of this is racism. I don't think people understand what racism is. Like I don't know, has the definition changed now to include basically everything? Because I'm under the impression that it's discrimination based on the race or ethnicity of a person. None of this is discriminating somebody because of the color of their skin or where they're from. Yes, there are some problems to talk about here, but they're not. It's not racism that's being discussed here. I
think the point's getting
something else.
Here. I think that the point this person's trying to make is that mainstream veganism isn't as anti-racist as this person would like. It's not seeking to go and tear down these barriers that some people do face. Like that's a stretch, though, right? To say that
it is a big stretch.
Before this conversation, I'd probably never thought of like the fact that some Inuits probably struggle to source. That you could say that Inuits are in a food desert. They probably genuinely struggle to source like fresh vegetables and things like that because of where they live. But that doesn't mean that I'm a racist, because I've never considered that when promoting veganism to people in Sheffield.
Like the point, yeah, that's it. You just nailed the point down there. It's like it's not like me and you are reaching out to indigenous communities and telling them that they're murderers. You know what I mean? It's like we're talking to people in our circles that put it this way, right? There are indigenous vegans who are reaching out to other indigenous people, and that's great, right? That's awesome. For me or you to reach over to an indigenous tribe and try and make them see the ethics of veganism, it wouldn't be a completely negative thing, but it would be ineffective, right? And some people would say it's problematic or whatever, but I don't buy that at all. I would say it's ineffective. I'll agree with you there, because the chances are I'm not going to know shit about their way of living, and they're not going to know shit about my way of living. So it's probably not going to work. I'll give you that. If you want to give me that logical argument, well, it's not effective, I'd agree with you, right? But to say that, like, a vegan who knows a lot about indigenous communities shouldn't reach out because it's racist to try to get them to go vegan, it's fucking stupid.
I got distracted by a message in chat. I'm not laughing at what you were saying. Someone said that their bed is a sex desert.
Oh my god. Let's get through this, right? Let's get through this, all right? The communities of color that rely on cheaply produced meat to survive, that is a problem that needs to be solved. Think about how horrible must it be to be in such a shit situation, right, that you have to exploit and kill another animal to survive. What a horrible life that must be, right? You shouldn't be encouraging these people to keep doing it. That is the true horror here. Like, this person's arguing for that. Like, no, we're saying that that's not okay. It's not okay for those animals that have to die, and it's not okay for those communities of color who are apparently in no position where they can change that. That's horrible on both accounts. It's obviously much worse for the animal, but it is also really bad for that community that they simply have no choice. So, veganism is not about telling them, guilt tripping them. Veganism is about making it so that they don't have to live that way anymore, and giving them options and ways to get out of it so that the animals can live, right? So this person's like arguing as if like it's so bad for us to try and change that. No. When we try and change this, it's helping animals, and it's helping those communities of color to live in a much healthier and much less exploitative way, a way that doesn't harm others. Like, it's a win-win,
It's just problem with this article. It's just making sweeping generalizations about what mainstream veganism is.
Absolutely.
This is not the mainstream veganism that I've experienced.
No.
Most of the activists that I've worked with, if they were speaking to is Inuit like a correct term? If they were speaking to an indigenous person, a person in a food desert who is forced to exploit animals to gain sustenance, most of the activists that I work with, if they were speaking to that person, they'd say something along the lines of, okay, help me understand the situation. What are the barriers? Let me help you research like how we might be able to reduce some of those barriers. Is there anything we can do to help you reduce your exploitation of animals? Like, fair enough, some of them might just be angry and just say, no, you're a piece of shit. But that's not representative of mainstream. It means like the majority, right?
Everyone, yeah.
The majority
basically.
of vegans that I've experienced aren't like that. And again, this is just my own experience. Other people's might be different. And if that's the case, tell me about it.
Well, that's what this person's doing, but it's bullshit. And we've got this other thing here. This like mainstream veganism can also be unwelcoming toward vegans of color and fat vegans. Like what? And there's like some other articles linked here. Like what are you talking about? Like vegans of color. I don't know if this person realizes, but like some of the most well-known vegans are vegans of color, right? And I made this comment along my 2 streams ago, right? You've got Cheap Lazy Vegan on YouTube, and you've got Soul Food. Oh, what is it called? Sweet Potato Soul on YouTube. These 2 individuals, both women of color, their subscriber counts together, I think, are over 1 million, right? And they're both vegan YouTubers that are doing mainly recipes and stuff, but like they also do other stuff. So what the fuck? What are they talking about? How can it be unwelcoming when 2 of the biggest vegan YouTubers are women of color? All right, and also fat vegans. Where is this person living? Yeah, there's so many.
I didn't find it welcoming.
It's and there's so many like vegans. I wouldn't even use the word fat. Actually, I think that's not the right word to suggest. To use here. There are many vegans who are like have more to love. Let's say. Like that's really, really common. Like vegans eat a fucking lot. Vegans are obsessed with food most of the time. So like what? And not obsessed in like a health way, obsessed in like I want to eat like 5 vegan burgers on top of each other way. And that's like not something that is shunned by, I think that's a media thing more than anything. The media paints vegans as a health movement, but vegans don't see this shit as a health movement.
Well, the media paints vegans as malnourished and like frail.
Right, yeah. It's absolute nonsense. And this white, able-bodied, thin one, this idea, let me tell you where this comes from, right? And the idea that veganism is a white thing, right? Here's where it comes from. The countries where veganism has exploded, the concept of veganism and like the vegan movement, the countries where it has exploded are countries where the population is predominantly white, which has led to some very loud, very, very loud voices, such as Earthling Ed, James Aspey, Joey Carbstrong, Gary Yourofsky, Moby, some extremely popular people have come out of this and talked about veganism, right? In these majority white countries. And yeah, because it's a majority white countries, they happen to be white, okay? This doesn't mean that veganism is a white thing. It just means that it is popular in countries where white people live, right? And that's why you see loads of white people going vegan. And that's why it seems like there are more white people represented. Well, if veganism had exploded in India, right, and because it exploded in India first, all the main influencers, vegan influencers, were Indian, then you'd be saying, well, veganism is an Indian thing, right? It just happens to explode in the West. It's not like a specific like choice, like. Do you know what I mean? Like, people act like it was done on purpose. It wasn't. It happens to gain popularity here in the West. So that's how it went. I mean, I don't see how people would assume this is nefarious. Like they just assume it's a negative thing.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. At the same time, I want to change my opinion a little bit because whilst I agree that it's not nefarious, I still think there must be some barriers in place. There must be something that's making veganism not as accessible, or maybe it's vegan activism not as accessible for people of color or people of marginalized communities, because I just don't see like that many like people of color in like the activism circles I'm in or on like social media, things like that. There's not as many. They're not as well represented.
Right.
So,
I mean, in England, you're talking about.
Yeah, and there's some amazing groups, like there's the Afro Vegan Society, or I don't know, there's lots of like black-led organisations doing amazing work out there to try and tear down those barriers and help marginalised communities, transition to veganism. And I think rather than trying to shame like white vegans, we should be reaching out and working with these organisations, collaborating with them to make it more accessible, rather than shaming people.
So look, man, like I need to just like let's run some numbers here, right? The UK has a lot of vegans, right? The UK has a lot of vegans. Let's use the UK as an example. UK has a lot of vegans. Let's imagine the number is 8%. Just give it. I'm throwing it out there. 8% of the UK population are vegan. All right, 8%. And let's be really honest here. Of that 8%, how many of them are activists? Give me a percentage. Let's say, what, 1%? 5% of the 8%, right?
It depends where you define activist.
That's all right.
Media, do they go out into the street? Like,
I'm talking street activism. Right?
Probably
Street
less,
activism.
probably 2%.
All right, so 2%. So 2% of that 8% are active, right? So we're down to 8% of the population now. We're at 2% of the 8% are activists, right? And then for example, the population of England in 2011 that were black British or referred to themselves as black British was 2%. 2% of the UK population would class themselves as black or black British. I just checked it. Okay, so we're talking about 7% of the population, of which 2% are activists, and we're wondering why in that group there are so little people of color. Well, that's because like 97% of the country is white, and only 2% of 7% actually go to events. Like it's not insane to believe that. Like why is it surprising that you go to an activism event and it's all white people in a country that is predominantly white, where only like 0.5% of the population wants to do activism? Like it seems to me like I expect that. And it's like, I don't feel like, I mean, you could be right that there's barriers. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I also need to like consider like the percentages here. It kind of adds up that would be the case. It makes sense that that's the case. Although I'd like to change it, of course. Like, let's make efforts to change it for sure. But I don't think there are barriers in place necessarily. I think that it's just basic statistics, in my opinion. As well as maybe barriers. I don't know, man. I'm just putting that out there, you know.
Again, I don't know enough on the subject, if I'm honest, but my kind of hunch, my gut instinct on this is that there's not as much like black representation. There's not as much, you know, from lots of marginalized communities. There's not as much representation in the vegan movement as there should be. But I don't know. I'm not drawing that from statistics. I don't know. That's just my hunch based on what I've seen. And I just think like trying to reduce those barriers can only be a good thing, and trying to work with these organizations and communities and trying to, you know, embrace the black community. And again, I think the problem is what we're up against here is like this article's on is shaming like white veganism and things like that. It's shaming us, whereas why not try to like empower and try to bring people together instead?
Yeah, I think for me, dude, I'm about the numbers, right? I'm about the numbers more than anything, and I feel like people are just ignoring the numbers when it comes to this kind of stuff, like and or not ignoring, overlooking. So when you say like there's not enough representation in the movement of people of color, let's say, I don't even like that. By the way, the term people of color is incredibly, in my opinion, inappropriate. Like I feel like that's like a throwback to a time when before we were alive. Like I think it's they used to say colored people, and that now if you say that is incredibly racist, right? But people of color isn't. Like I don't, you know. Anyway, but that's a whole side point. It's the argument is that they're not representative in veganism, right? But like I've just said, like we've established that veganism is something that has blown up in countries that are majority white, and very, very small percentages of those countries are actually vegan. So it just adds up that they would be majority white.
The fact that it's not blown up in countries where the majority of people are black.
No, it hasn't. It hasn't blown up in those countries.
Yeah, so is that not telling us that there must be some kind of barriers? There must be problems. There must be some reason.
So you're talking international barriers. I thought you were talking like barriers within, kind of like you're talking about England at first, like when you go to an event.
You know, now I'm changing. Like,
That's a different topic, yeah, altogether. I think there are, of course, there are international barriers. I mean, the West is the most privileged place to live, right? So there is an argument to say that, like, we have better access to foods, we have easier access to knowledge and information. We have access to a lot of things that countries where the majority of the population are black, for example, may not have the same access on such a large scale, right? For example, like in most of the West, you don't see like extreme poverty, right? Whereas in countries where the majority population is, for example, black or Indian, I don't know about if all of them have extreme poverty, but most, at least some of them do. Like the most extreme poverty we see on the planet is in those parts of the world. So I think that would most likely play into it. And then obviously the education, the knowledge base, the availability of foods, knowing what to cook or whether to just go with what you've always done and what is traditional. But there are vegan movements in countries where the majority of the population isn't white. There are vegan movements, you're right. It's only that I guess they don't get as much of a look in like Western social media and stuff, which makes sense because Western social media is Western, right? I mean, why would I mean, it is great when we talk about other countries and what they're doing, but why would that be a focus on an Instagram page that is based in the West, right? I don't, so if I sometimes post about like South Africa, for example. I've posted about Japan. I've posted about I think I posted about China, the vegan groups in these countries. But if I made my entire account about that wouldn't make any sense because I'm here in the West and talking to Western people most of the time. Why would I focus on other countries for 99% of what I'm doing for the sake of appeering virtuous? It doesn't make sense. It's illogical,
That's another topic, I think, actually, and we could talk a lot about that. There's this concept going around at the minute of like greenwashing, where people are like pretending to be like really care, companies, big corporations pretending to really care about the environment, but they don't really. It's just sexy. And there's like, I don't know if there's a term like the same, but for like people standing against racism, standing with Black Lives Matter and all these things. A lot of companies, changing their social media to a black square, but their policies like actively work against black people when they, maybe their products are made in a developing country by black people that get paid a shitty wage. And
exactly.
A lot of that going around. It's sexy and trendy to kind of say we're not racist, even if like in the background you're doing things that oppress black people.
Yeah. So, no. Even if in the background you're doing fuck all to help black people, that's the thing. It's like, it's all good and well sharing a screenshot or whatever, a black square or something, but like, if you actually give a shit, then donate some money, right? If you actually give a shit, I mean, what? Donate $5 to a local, I don't know, whatever organization you have in your area. Like, donate then if you actually give a shit. Don't just post a black square and nothing else. That doesn't change anything. But it's called virtue signaling. It's called virtue signaling in general. That's what it's called. Like, that's when companies do greenwashing, they're also doing that virtue signaling. When someone pretends, or maybe they are against racism, but like a lot of people, I think, just jumped on the bandwagon because it made them look good. And a lot of people they're scared as well, man. We're in 2020. Like, people are terrified to do the wrong thing, so they try and do all the right things, right? It's a terrifying time. That's to be alive. It's the most peaceful time we've ever experienced in human history. But it's also there's this thing called St. George in retirement syndrome. Do you know about this?
No, it sounds great.
So, yeah, it's good. It's basically how like this idea of this is that St. George in the myth, he slayed the dragon, right? That was his life's journey to slay the dragon. He completed his story arc. And then what happens next? Well, he's slain the dragon. So what happens? He goes looking for other dragons, right? And these dragons are getting smaller and smaller and smaller until he kills the last dragon that was this little baby dragon. And now he's got no dragons to kill. So he's just he's got a sword. He's ready to kill another dragon, but there are no more dragons. So he's just swinging at everything and everyone, right? And that's kind of where we're at now. Is that like our past there have been these huge issues that we've had.
There's no tyrant dictators left, so let's go after.
Right, basically, yeah. And there are no like, I mean, of course there are like there is racism, it exists, and there is sexism, it exists. Of course, these people are still out there, and but especially in the West anyway, we're all against it. Like the common narrative now, the common, like, you know, we're all standing together and we see a racist and we say something about it, and or if someone's being racist in the job, they get fired, and if someone's being sexist, they get fired, and it's like, and it's legally that way. It may not happen in reality sometimes, fine, but legally the law is behind you and the society is on side with this, right? So, you know, there's a lot of individuals now that because of that, they're still fighting that dragon. So they're watching.
I don't agree. Like, I see a lot of racism, I really do, and it fucking hurts me to my core. Like, it really gets me down. But I see it, whether it's on my Facebook feed when people are talking about Brexit, or whether it's on Twitter about that, but also in real life with like people who I know. I've been in groups at work where people have like been outwardly making racist jokes in a room of 20 people, and I was the odd person out when I went and reported them. And that's not just an isolated case. Like, I've seen it far too much. I've seen it far.
I don't want to be misrepresented here. I said very clearly that yes, it is happening, and yes, it exists, of course. But when someone is getting pulled up for a tweet 7 years ago, that's St. Georgian retirement syndrome. All right, they're not. These people aren't attacking the actual racists. They're attacking people who might have said something that was controversial, and destroying their life because of this St. Georgian retirement syndrome. That's what I'm getting at here. When you see this, and if and when you see this, you deal with it, right? But I'm not talking about people like what you're talking about. Yes, they exist and they need to be handled, and it's still a problem that these people are around. One is too many. But what I'm saying is that when some comedian makes a fucking joke on stage about stereotyping Chinese people, Japanese people, African Americans, or white people, they shouldn't have their career destroyed for making a joke about stereotypes, which is literally what their job is to do, right? Come on.
Disagreeing about two completely separate issues there, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
I was saying that racism is like a massive problem. It still happens. It's prevalent everywhere. Like, I was the minority in being anti-racism in my past, like, 33 years of life. I was the minority in standing against that and saying, this makes me feel bad. It's not a good thing. Like, it happens a lot. I'm telling you. It happens a lot.
To stand up for what's
right. But I actively oppose cancel culture at the same time, because, like I've said earlier, I know I'm repeating myself, like, shame is not a powerful motivator when it comes to inspiring behavior change. Sure. Like, people, when they get cancelled on the internet, they don't stop being racist. They just stop being a racist in the public limelight. Like, instead you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
So better ways of educating and inspiring behavior change than cancelling people.
Exactly.
So
and
I think we actually agree on that, but just
we do agree. I think, but this is the common misinterpretation of when I talk about this, or when anyone makes a kind of comment on this. The common misinterpretation and misunderstanding is that people are saying that it doesn't exist. It's like, no, that's not. It's never. That's just denying factual fucking things. That's denying the facts of life. I'm not denying the facts of life that exists. Of course it does. And it definitely needs to be dealt with. And like I said, one is too many. One racist piece of shit is too many. Like, I'm with you here. What I'm getting at is that the individuals who have the St. Georgian retirement syndrome, they're 9 times out of 10, they're not even going for the actual racists. They're finding somebody who has said something that's slightly offensive and trying to paint them out to be the next Hitler. And this is what you do when you have no one to attack. You create the enemy. And I feel like this is what's been going on. And this individual with this article in question, this is a perfect example of it. They've created an enemy, an enemy that doesn't exist. Like they've designed, it's like a designer enemy. The vegan is the enemy, because vegans are racist and classist and elitist, and vegans, they support capitalism and colonialism, and the vegan, they hate vegans of color and they hate fat vegans. Mainstream vegans are the enemy. They're evil. This is typical St. Georgian retirement syndrome. This is literally what it is. Like, I want to attack someone for something, so let's pick mainstream vegans and let's just develop an enemy that doesn't exist. Like, and just create it, you know. Let's try and rip into them. It's so common that people are doing this.
I just found a comment that really fits in well with this. So it's scroll back up a little bit. 840 by Fear of a Vegan.
Oh yeah.
And this person said that I'll wait for you to get it up.
All right. I actually can't go. I can't see it.
Basically, this person said non-child abusers need to stop being so morally pure.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
And it's drawing an interesting distinction, because we thought vegans need to stop being so pure. But what this argument's basically saying is that judging people is wrong. And it brings me back to like a video I saw that I think Gary Yourofsky did it like a few years back in an interview, where he kind of said that, you know, just because we judge people doesn't mean that we're bad. Like sexual abusers judge people who are sexually abusers. That doesn't mean that it's bad. Like, you're right to judge people who engage in unethical things. So
there's only two kinds of people in the world: those who judge others and those who lie about it. That's it. That's it. You either you just admit it that you judge people, or you bullshit. And like, so people, when someone's saying like you shouldn't judge others, they're full of shit, because they judge people every day. You just judged me by telling me I shouldn't judge others. Judgeception is literally what it is. Like, it is.
Part of judgment.
Oh, do you know what? I was like, it's been a long time that I've avoided a lot of these topics that we discussed today, like the fucking plague. But you know, like, I don't know if this was like, if getting into this has been a mistake or not. But I feel like, I don't know. I feel like you shouldn't be scared to fucking talk about things, man. Like, it's pretty wild that you can't even have a discussion.
I know that for both of us too, if someone is sat there watching this now, or in the future, or 7 years from now, and wants to cancel one, like,
definitely,
I guarantee you could reach out to David, or you could reach out to I and say, you were wrong about that, and this is why, and we'll listen to it. And if you make a good argument that we're wrong about it, I'll change my opinion. Like, I'm proud of the fact that when people come to me and tell me that I was wrong, or there's a point of view I've not considered, or there's some statistic I didn't know about, and it makes sense to me, I'll say, yeah, okay, you're right, I'm going to change my opinion on that. And I might even join you fighting against this injustice.
Totally. And I think also on the complete flip side of that, if you're chatting shit, don't expect to be taken seriously. I think this is something that we also need to focus on, right? That, like, your opinion doesn't matter just because you have an opinion. Like, that's not how the world works. I know how that's how people think it works. You're entitled to your opinion. I don't believe you are actually entitled to your opinion. Like, I feel like if you especially if you're sharing your opinion in a non-judgmental kind of non-confrontational way, and just like, here's my opinion, then you're entitled to say your word. But if you're gonna message me or James, right, and I've told people this before on my Instagram, like, if you're gonna message me and give me some shit, right, and your opinion isn't backed by anything, it's not backed by any kind of science or study or anything that's like logical, and you expect me to take it seriously just because it's your opinion, that's not going to happen. And I feel like this entitlement has come up with our generation and the one before. They feel entitled. Everyone should be nice to me and listen to me because I'm me. I'm special. No, you're not special. You're not special. You're one of many, and your opinions aren't special. So if you have an opinion that is against James or against me, totally give it to us, but think about it before you come up with it, right? And think, do I have enough of a backing here to say what I'm going to say? Like, can I link them to something that like backs me up? Can I actually show some value to that back my point, especially if it's a controversial point? Because if you can't, and you're just upset and triggered, then I'm sorry, but your emotions aren't enough to make you to be taken seriously, right? Your emotions aren't enough to make your point valid. It's not enough. I feel like we're in a world where the louder you scream and the harder you cry, the more important your points are. That's kind of what I feel we've got to now. And honestly, I've taken to, on my Instagram, I'll be totally honest with you, I've just started deleting messages now, because I can't handle the people that some people that message me, not my followers, obviously. Some people just get really angry, and vegans, they message me, they don't follow me, they're very upset with me, and they send me a message, and I read it, and I'm just like, you're so entitled to think that I'm actually going to respond to this nonsense, and that you think you took the time out of your day to send me this bullshit emotional message because you're upset about how I talk to people or the activism that I do. And I look at their page and they're doing nothing. They're doing no activism. They're posting recipes, or even worse, they're just posting selfies. And I'm like, what the fuck is this person? Or why should I take them seriously? Do you know what I mean, man? Am I being too mean here? Like, do you think I'm being too harsh here?
Sounds like you're saying you care, you want to care about the opinions of people who matter to you. People, not just random people on the internet who like aren't contributing anything to. I don't know.
I don't even need to know them, dude. Like, it's not like they have to matter to me, but it's like an opinion. If your opinion's based on your emotions, and you're coming after me because of your emotions, I couldn't care less. I really couldn't care less. If you're coming after me, not coming after me, but you're coming to me to try to help me understand something that you think I've missed, and you have some kind of data or some opinion based on some, I don't know, some studies you've done, or like your personal experience, I'll hear you out all day. I'm totally up for that. Like, talk to me. But if you're just coming at me with pure emotion because you're pissed off about something I said and you expect me to take you seriously, then you're deluded, and you're entitled, and you need to give your head a shake and get in the real world, because the real world is gonna eat you up and spit you out if that's how you feel. Like, you know, you have a point because you're upset. That's not how it works, you know. Yeah. I'm upset is not an argument, is what I'm trying to say. I'm upset is not an argument. So, you know, as much as I agree with you, I am totally open-minded. I'm not open-minded to you being upset and just telling me that you're upset. No, I'll ignore you. But if you come to me with like please do come to me, All James, with information, like links or studies or videos that you want, that you think we should watch related to the topics we've discussed today, I'll fucking watch them. I'll watch the shit out of them. And then I'll come back to you and I'll tell you if I agree or not. Like, I'm up for that. Totally up for that.
Yeah, same. I'm always up for having my opinions challenged. And again, you can challenge someone's ideas without challenging like the person. Do you know what I mean? You can. I don't know if I said that very clearly, but we can have discussions about ideas, topics, even controversial ones, without having to be on the other side, like debating each other. Like, you know, you can play devil's advocate, or I don't really know where I'm going with this, to be honest.
I feel I get what you're saying. You don't have to attack the individual, but you can attack their ideas. Like, you can disprove their ideas, but you don't have to try and destroy their life. You know, like I know some people will probably clip some stuff that in this live stream if they find it, and they'll upload it with some insults against me, right? And this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is like the epitome of the wrong way to handle this, is to go out and make loads of posts calling somebody a name. Let me tell you something. Like, this is an amazing statistic, right? Out of there's been one time where I was getting absolutely like cancelled like crazy, right? I was like the #1 to be cancelled in fucking animal rights for a while. Like, it was insane. I don't even know if I knew you at the time, James. It was bad. It was really, really bad, right? And not one, and I mean this, not one of the people that did that ever reached out to me. Not one person emailed me, not one person messaged me, not one person asked me if I wanted to do a call with them to help understand why this is happening. Not one person. Now, that tells you everything you need to know about the kind of people that were doing that.
I mean, we both know a person. I'm not going to say who it is, just because I've not got the energy to have this big long discussion now. But sure, we both know someone who's recently been cancelled, and they've had a lot of hate directed at them for something they allegedly did. And this person put out statements saying like, "Oh, I'm really sorry. I want to learn and develop and move forward and change how I am, and I've learned a lot. I want to move forward. And if you've got any advice, like, here's my phone number." They put their phone number on the thing and said, "Reach out to me. I'd love to hear your advice." Lots of people still talking about it on the internet, but no one's reached out to this person.
So what can you do? You know, this is the world we're in now. It's about, because the thing is, man, reaching out and having a sensible conversation doesn't give you social brownie points, right? You get social brownie points by writing something witty and edgy about them in a negative way, then you get a pat on the back, well done. But actually talking to them and finding out where you disagree and trying to help each other, well, that doesn't get you anything. It just makes you a good person. And who the fuck cares about that, man? You know what I mean? Who gives a shit about being integral? Who gives a shit about being honest? That's not 2020 and beyond, right? 2020 is all about how can I look the most badass? How can I get the most social acceptance on you know, public acceptance? Like, what can I do? That's what 2020 and above is about.
So if we've got some advice for you then, for the people watching this video, it's to be that person that reaches out to people and challenges their opinion and says, hey, are you okay, man? Do you need to talk? Or, you know, challenge people, talk to them, offer advice, offer knowledge, but don't try to cancel people. Like, you might destroy someone's life, but it's not going to make them stop being racist or sexist or homophobic or whatever. Like,
yeah, canceling someone else's life isn't going to give you purpose in yours. Trust me. And that's the real reason you're doing it, trying to find a purpose, isn't it? These people trying to find purpose by canceling someone else. It's pathetic. Instead of doing that, just have honesty and integrity. Be an honest, integral person. Like, you know, reach out to people and talk to them. You know,
and you know what? People need validation. Validation's important for all of us. Like, I like getting validation. I like getting those. I'll be honest, I love getting those comments where people reach out to me and say, I had a conversation with you on the street. You show me some footage of animal exploitation, and I just want to let you know you've changed my life and I'm vegan now. Like, that's amazing for me to get that. If you need that validation, like, you do a post, say, I saw this person saying a really hateful thing. I reached out to them, had a conversation. They seem to take it on board. Like, yay, go me. And people can give you those comments that you need without you trying to destroy someone.
Totally. And I think I guess there's something I would say, like, maybe it could be seen as me being a little bit hypocritical, because then I do make videos about someone like Sadhguru, for example, right? But if have I ever reached out to Sadhguru and tried to speak to him? Well, I didn't really see the point. There's 5 million subscribers. You know what I mean? I think there are, like, but then again, I didn't cancel him, did I? I didn't call for people to destroy his life. I didn't call for people to, you know, boycott him.
That is hypocrisy. And hey, that's a cool idea. You could make a video about that where you try to reach out to him and try to have a discussion.
That could be fun.
Maybe he won't accept because it's not in his best interest, but you can say you tried.
Totally. Yeah, and I think that's the difference, actually. I think you're right. If somebody made a video about me, right, and they were pointing out my hypocrisies, and they were pointing out where I've said something and then said something else different time, and they were like also making fun of me, right? But they were doing it all in, like, logical ways. I don't think I would be even upset. I'd be like, all right, let's do this. And that, you know, I'd make my response video and I'd be like, okay, yeah, maybe you're right or wrong or whatever. I enjoy that, actually. But the point where I draw the line is like you've said, it's the irrational emotional cancellations. That's the problem, right? Or like, you know, or like someone well known in these circles, he used a clip of me in a really negative way, and then started to tell people, like, we don't need these kind of people. Like, he was just bitching about me. I don't like that, right? But yeah, if you want to take my arguments apart and make a video about it and post it, like, fuck yeah, let's do that. And I'll come back, and, you know, this is different, right? I enjoy a challenge, but I don't enjoy.
It's different to trying to cancel someone, though.
Exactly. Yeah, I think so.
And that's what I respect about you, David, because if someone did that about you, you know, made a video about you calling out some bullshit what you'd said, like, you'd actually sit there and analyze yourself. You just did it there. You just said, oh yeah, actually, like, I did something similar to Sadhguru, and, like, maybe it would have been better if I'd reached out to him. Like, you've just done it there on stream in front of everyone. You've just, like, reflected on your own behavior and thought, is there a way I could have done that better? And not enough people do that. It's a shame.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. It's difficult, you know. It's difficult to do that. It's not like it's not like who I am. It's not like I'm a super virtuous person. Like, it happens every now and then. But if something comes up to me, like you've just said, if something comes up in my face, like, what am I talking? Are we back to the sex conversation now? if something pops up in front of me that's like, or someone tells me, like, oh, you don't make any sense because of this and this, like, you know, for example, right, there was a let's close on this because I feel like it's getting on a bit now. But there was this big anti-vegan guy. I'm not going to say who he is, but he said something to me. He said we were having a bit of a to and fro in my messages, right, about what I was doing, and he was being a bit of a dick. And he said, you believe there is an animal holocaust, and this is how you act, right? And I read it, and I was just like, first of all, you don't know what I do, right? He doesn't know what I do. A lot of the stuff that I've been doing hasn't been public, right? So, that's okay. That's a fair comment. But it made me really reflect. I was like, he's kind of right in a way. And it made me think about my actions, and it made me think about the actions of other vegans and like activism and like activism events. And like, I've got this new way of looking at them now, right? So say somebody invites me to an event and it's something that I think is like silly, like an Animal Rebellion event where they dress up as fucking vegetables. And I remember what he said, like, you think there is an animal holocaust happening and this is how you act? And it was like, it was from an anti-vegan, and it was very critical of me. And he pointed out something that is so important. He's right. He's fucking right. Like, if that's what we truly believe, then our activism should reflect that. And I don't mean like, we still need to be effective and we need to think logically, but we can't be, there's a lot of things that I see that I really haven't liked. And now, especially when I go out to do more activism, I'm going to keep this in my mind. Like, this is an animal holocaust, and we need to act accordingly, right? So, sometimes someone who absolutely hates your guts can say something like that makes you actually think, wait a minute, fuck. Like, he's saying that and coming from a hateful place, but I've understood this is like, this is actually something I'm going to consider, because although he didn't mean it in that way, it applies, right? You see what you follow me here?
Yeah, I get you. And again, it does come back to that, is it effective? Because if you can convince me that, you dress up as vegetables and dance around city centres and, I don't know, you do all kinds of crazy shit, and it gets national news coverage, and people reach out to you saying, oh, this highlighted to me this, injustice that's happening, and since then I've gone vegan. And it's not just like one person, it's like a lot of people, and it's effective. I'm all for that shit. I don't care how.
Obviously.
Again, it's got to be effective, and I don't know if it is or not, to be honest. I just don't know.
If dressing as vegetables was proven to be an effective way to make people go vegan, then yeah, to hell with whether it's whether ideologically it makes sense or not. If it works, it works, right? That's the point. But yeah, I guess the point. Yeah, he made it was a good point, and it's kind of stuck in my mind. And it's actually, I guess, in his head, he was like, "Ha, got you, you fucker." But in my head, it's like, thank you. You're giving me something to drive me forward and be better. Like, you actually, by you being an asshole, you've really helped me. So,
Checkmate, vegans.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's wrap it up. All right, 3 hours 40. This is longer than the AV one, man. So, congrats.
Hey, remember when I told you I could probably join for an hour because I've got like a university assignment to do?
Oh, well, there you go. Fuck university. No one needs that anyway. All right, I will wrap up now then. I'll say thank you to James, thank you to Ellie, Vegan Gaze. This has been good. This has been very productive, I believe. There's a lot of content in here that you can take and use, and you can take some clips out of context and cancel us both if you're up for that. That's it's all there for you. So I hope this you can thank us for that. It can give you some social brownie points. So if that's what you want to go for, then here you go. It's all for you, all for the taking. No, on a serious note, it's been really good. I've really enjoyed this. Thank you for everybody who did the super chats. That's so appreciated. And I'm going to mute James because he's typing and it's coming through. So it's gone now. No, thank you for the super chats. Really appreciate that. It means so much that you've contributed to the stream. Like, wow, that you're contributing to my work. I really appreciate that. It means so much. And if you want to contribute on a more regular level, please do join my Patreon as one of my patrons. You can contribute like $1 a month, and that to you obviously is I assume is not much, but to me, if 100 of you do that, that's $100. If 1,000 of you do, that's $1,000, and that is literally allowing me to live and do this full time. So please do consider that. New video coming Wednesday, and if I can get it edited and ready in time, it will be about David Attenborough. And it's going to be, the title of it will be David Attenborough Exposed for Being a Massive Hypocrite. So if you're a David Attenborough lover, you're probably going to hate me and you're going to hate this video. I hated making it because I love David Attenborough, but no one's safe from me calling them out for their bullshit hypocrisy if they are causing the animals to be harmed. All right. So I didn't like making this video, but I made it anyway. So that's coming on Wednesday. Anything you want to say, James, before we log off?
No, thank you for having me, and I'm just going to shamelessly plug myself again. Guys, please, it would mean the world to me if you can just like subscribe to me, put my notifications on, like my videos, comment on them, follow me on Facebook, any of that jazz. That would really be a great help, so thank you.
I'll put all your stuff in the description now, so they can find you there as well. All right, thanks everybody. James, give a wave. Don't be rude. Wave. All right.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.